Welfare and Chemicals and Fertilizers. We warmly welcome Sri Bhagwant Kuba, the Honorable Union Minister of State for Chemicals and Fertilizers and New and Renewable Energy. Our warmest welcome to Ms. S. Aparna, Secretary, Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India. Our warmest and heartiest welcome to Dr. V.K. Paul, Honorable Member, Niti Aayog, and all the dignitaries who are now seated with us on the dais. Dignitaries on the dais, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry in West India and Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, I welcome you all to India Pharma 2022 and India Medical Devices 2022. It gives me great pleasure to request the Honorable Minister, sirs, to please light the ceremonial lamp and inaugurate this morning's first session. Thank you, Honorable Sirs. Thank you, ma'am, for doing us the honors. I now request Sri Arun Chawla, Director General FICCI, to kindly welcome the dignitaries on the dais with a shawl and a green certificate. We extend a very warm welcome to the Honorable Minister, Health and Family Welfare and Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, Dr. Mansukh Mandavia. Our warmest welcome to the Honorable Minister. The green certificate certifying the number of trees which has been planted in honor of the honorable dignitary. I request Sri Chawla to kindly warmly welcome our Honorable Minister of State for Chemicals and Fertilizers and New and Renewable Energy, Sri Bhagwant Kuba. Our warmest welcome to the Honorable Minister. We extend a very warm welcome to Dr. V.K. Paul, Honorable Member, Niti Aayog. A hearty welcome to Ms. S. Aparna, Secretary, Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India. We warmly welcome Dr. Balram Bhargava, Secretary, Department of Health Research and Director General, ICMR. Our warmest welcome to Sri Kamlesh Pant, Chairman, NPPA. Thank you, Sri Chawla, for doing us the honors. Once again, our warmest welcome to all the dignitaries, and thank you, Sri Chawla, for doing us the honors of welcoming the honorable dignitaries on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, We have with us on the days Shri Deepak Bagla, Managing Director and CEO, Invest India. I now take the pleasure of requesting the Honorable Dignitary to kindly deliver the welcome address. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Truly a pleasure and a privilege to be here. It's my privilege to welcome the Honorable Minister, Mr. Mansukh Mandavia, for Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare, Chemicals and Fertilizers, Shri Bhagwant Khubaji, the Honorable Union Minister of State for Chemicals and Fertilizers and New and Renewable Energy of the Government of India, Mr. V.K. Paul, Member Niti Aayog, sir, warm welcome. Ma'am Aparna, the Secretary of the Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Mr. Balram Bhargav, the Director General of ICMR, Mr. Kamplesh Pant, the Chairman of NPPI. We have Mr. Vishwa Prasad Alva, the Managing Director of Scanray Technologies, Chair and FICCI Medical Device Committee, the pharmaceutical industry being represented by Shri Gagandeep Singh, the Managing Director of AstraZeneca and the Chair of FICCI. Dr. Khurakiwala, we all know you very well, and thank you so much for being with us this morning. It's truly a pleasure. And then may I also welcome Arun and thank Arun for getting us all together this morning. And thank you, FICCI, for doing this. And on behalf of Invest India, may I welcome you once again. It's been a brutal 30 months, and we've all been in the middle of it. And first, let me thank the Minister and his entire team, sir. 1.87 billion doses of vaccine, and still counting. And sir, you and your entire team have been exceptional. We've seen how they worked day and night, not just to take care of our own selves, but if I may add to that, 98 other countries which have also received 174 million vaccines from us. It's not just India. It's actually a fascinating story if you see what has happened in India and how India has now reached out to the entire world. And now the entire world is in fact reaching out to India in many ways. I know there'll be much discussions on that, and we have captains of industry, we have the members of the media who will be taking this forward as a discussion. But let me add a little point to that. I think the next phase as we move forward, and this is where you will see the strong dominance of India on the global footprint, will be on the innovation and the startup side of this entire sector. We already have 5,000 plus startups registered with us on Startup India, which are working primarily on the health tech industry. And you'll start seeing a large number of unicorns being born out of it. We are already seeing that happen. But it is this ability of frugality and startups, and the reason why I'm just stressing on that, and Ma'am Secretary, I know you mentioned to me that I can't exceed 5 minutes, if I made 30 more seconds on that, because this is important. The story of startup and innovation is the story of New India. And the reason why I tell you, it's one of the youngest stories in the world of startups, because we started our journey only 72 months ago. But in a short period of 72 months, you are number 3 in the world in number of unicorns, number 2 in the world in number of startups, and number 1 in the world with new startups adding every day. And we at Invest India have seen in the past 70 months, we've had over 1,000 R&D centers opened of global multinationals in India. Today, you are the number 1 country in the world for R&D, for global multinationals, having their R&D centers outside of their head office. This is a story which is just moving around the inflection point. This is a story which has just begun. And I'm going to close, but let me give you a few statistics. You know, we have a dedicated team in Invest India, which is the National Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency of the government, to handhold each and every investment coming into India. Of all my sectors, and let me remind you, last year, we had FDI from over 89 countries in 63 sectors. But of those 63 sectors, the number one sector for me in terms of the countries from where I've had representation, which is 80 countries, has been pharma and medical devices. Mr. Minister, full credit to you and your team on that one. And as a quick one, as we speak, my team is working on 968 business requests for pharmaceuticals, 667 for medical devices, and this is from over 80 countries. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a very warm welcome again and thank everybody here to be with us, to take on forward a very interesting and a critical initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bagla, for that warm welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst this morning Ms. S. Aparna, Secretary, Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India. May I request the Honorable Dignitary to kindly address the august gathering. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome.
Good morning, namaste. Honorable Minister Dr. Mandaviya ji, Honorable MOS Shri Khuba ji, respected member Niti Dr. Paul Sab, Secretary Dr. Bhargav Sab, dignitaries on the dais, diplomats, industry leaders, esteemed participants both here and on the VC link, friends from the media, and ladies and gentlemen. It is a matter of pride for us that we have assembled for the India Pharma and India Medical Devices 2022. I begin by thanking industry for its participation, FICCI, Invest India, and my officers from the department for the hard work that they have put in, and our honorable ministers for their continued guidance. As India prepares for its Amrit Kal, it is a moment in time to redesign our aspirations in the pharmaceuticals and medical devices sectors. Having already built up over the last few decades the reputation of being the pharmacy of the world, and having faced the challenges of the COVID pandemic with determination, it is now time to prepare for taking over the mantle of global leadership over the next 25 years. Toward this goal, the Government of India has approved support of nearly 28,000 crore rupees for these two sectors. Since we last met in February 2021, I'm happy to report that support of over rupees 22,000 crores have already been committed to over 125 investment projects under the PLI scheme for enhancing the domestic manufacturing capabilities in terms of APIs, bulk drugs, formulations, and medical devices. Support has also been approved to 4 states in India for setting up the medical device parks. 2 policy papers on medical devices sector, which is a sunrise sector, and R&D and innovation in pharma and medtech sectors, respectively, have been discussed with stakeholders, including industry, and should now move forward for approval. The schemes for supporting existing pharma clusters in our country and SMEs for common facilities and technology upgradation, which alone can assure quality, have already been launched with an outlay of rupees 500 crores. An amount of rupees 1,500 crores has been approved by the government for strengthening the infrastructure of NIPERs, which are our primary institutions for education and research in this sector. In the last 1 year, 1,053 new Jan Aushadhi Kendras have been added, bringing the overall reach of low-cost generic medicines for our citizens to about 8,700 Kendras. NPPA, the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, has contributed to affordability by increasing the number of formulations under price control to about 2,500 and extending trade margin rationalization to medical devices used in COVID treatment. All this was done even as we, department, industry, regulators, and our honorable ministers were working tirelessly in the last 1 year to ensure availability of drugs and medical devices to meet the heightened demand caused by COVID pandemic, even while serving the normal patient needs in our country and abroad. As we meet today, I would request that the discussions in this conference over the next 3 days could perhaps focus on how we can transform our demonstrated strength and competence into global leadership and better patient outcomes. To ensure that, I would suggest that we need to build an ecosystem for innovation in medical devices and drugs and enhance industry-academia linkages to a greater extent. Testing and certification competence have to be increased for facilitating the transition of medical devices into the licensing regime, which will happen later in this year. I hope that during the conference, we will discuss how we can venture into new therapies. Dr. Paul will probably speak about this, new therapies and medical technologies by bringing focus to drug discovery in emerging areas and by converging devices manufacturing with the digital skills so abundantly available in India. Challenges will, of course, have to be addressed in regaining our capacities in fermentation-based APIs, financing R&D, streamlining regulation over the drug development process, balancing innovation with affordability, increasing the range of domestically manufactured medical devices, and of course, expanding our share in the global markets in terms of value. Resilience, reliability, and innovation, I feel, should be added to our triple goals and strengths, in fact, of access, affordability, and quality. Sir, under your guidance, I look forward to all the inputs and insights from all present here, all delegates, during this conference in this collective endeavor. Thank you very much for your presence and your participation. Namaste.
Thank you, ma'am. We are indebted to you and the department for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst today Shri Gagandeep Singh, Managing Director, AstraZeneca, and Chair, FICCI Pharma Committee. May I now request him to kindly deliver the pharmaceutical industry address. Please welcome with a round of applause.
Greetings to Honorable Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia ji, Union Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Chemical and Fertilizers, Shri Bhagwan Kuba ji, Union Minister of State for Chemical Fertilizers, New and Renewable Energy, as well as government luminaries, Aparna ji, Secretary Department of Pharmaceuticals. Big greetings on behalf of the pharma industry. Deepak, you started by saying, we've done an amazing job as a country when it gets to vaccination. And I also want to here, recognize my colleagues here who worked day and night to make this happen as a pharmaceutical industry, as we really rose to the occasion in making sure that no patient or no individual was left behind in the country. So it's been a remarkable journey of partnerships with the government as well as with the industry here. We all know, that India's pharmaceutical sector has carved out itself as a strong and competitive advantage today in the global generic industry by supplying high quality drugs. Today, if you look at it, 1 in 3 drugs used in United States is made in India. 1 in 4 in United Kingdom is also made in India. Recently hosting the Honorable Prime Minister of UK, where he shared that he had himself used a made in India vaccine, and because of the vaccine development, it was possible for a travel to happen and trade treaties to be discussed. So that is again an extremely big compliment to the work which the Indian pharmaceutical industry has accomplished over the last couple of years. Our industry is today about 42 billion, out of which 24 billion comes out of exports, which is a remarkable achievement by itself. But more importantly, as we look to Vision 2047, we have potential to make it 3x or 4x, to go up to 150 to 180 billion from where we stand. And I think this is largely based on the opportunity which across the world exists, as well as the reforms in the healthcare sector that we are seeing within the country as well. As we go deeper, as we go higher, this is something which is possible. As an example, the opportunity we have with biosimilars, as well as complex generics, could give us the next wave of growth when it gets to exports. The efforts of startups to really make sure that our healthcare delivery reaches every village can help, again, pharmaceutical industry to penetrate even better from where we are today. So a huge opportunity which exists for all of us as we commit ourselves to 2047 as a vision. And I'd also like to take you through the upcoming program schedule, which is built on this whole vision of 2047. And what we have is, we have today two very important roundtables where, thanks to the Honorable Minister, we will get together with the CEOs and we'll hear how we can take the industry forward, what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, and what are the support that we're really looking forward for. We've also got the medical devices doing something very similar in their roundtable as well. The day two, if some of you are deciding not to turn back tomorrow, just make sure that you're in tomorrow as well, because it's packed with 4 sessions. We're covering the broad themes such as building resilient supply chain, which we know is the need of the hour. And we're also talking about success stories from the evolving health tech space, which is going to transform the way healthcare is delivered in the country. And we'll conclude the day with Pharma Investors Forum. This 3-day conference that we've lined up is an interesting lineup of sessions which will help us build a roadmap for the industry for 25 years and lead us to Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and help us become Atmanirbhar in the true sense. But before I go, I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank FICCI in association with Department of Pharmaceuticals, which has continuously supported the industry by creating this great platform which allows open interaction and exchange of ideas. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Shri Singh. We are indebted to the industry for their support. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Shri Vishwa Prasad Alva, Managing Director, Scanray Technologies, and Chair, FICCI Medical Devices Committee. May I now request him to kindly share with us the medical device industry address. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome.
Good morning, honorable ministers, senior officials of the government, and my friends and colleagues from the industry. If COVID went on for another couple of years, cutting off travel and trade links between countries, the whole world would have gone into an irreversible crisis with food security and healthcare system collapse, which is very vital to life. It is a good thought of the government to bring in health, pharma, medtech under one umbrella. And also coincidentally, chemicals and fertilizers, which is vital for food security, is also coming under the same group today. We have detailed discussions in the next 2 days about growing the medtech and the pharma sector. But I would like to take a couple of minutes to highlight certain issues. MedTech needs a separate executive program and team and not clubbed with pharma, because they are, even though they are coming under healthcare, the requirements of pharma and MedTech are very different. And we would like to have either a Minister of State for healthcare or a board with the CEO to visit all the industries understand the medtech, and domestically and internationally. There are about 7 or 8 countries in the world that are supplying to the rest of the 190 countries on medtech. And India, being very strong in high complexity, low volumes, high mix products, we have an opportunity to go from the current fraction of $1 billion to $30 billion by 2030 and $100 billion by 2047. And this is a sector that's very important. Like I said, if the pandemic had continued, then we would have been in a soup. I think in 4 years, not one medical equipment would have been working. And it's also a proud moment for us that the Indian medtech sector, along with DRDO, Bharat Electronics, ECIL, BEML, BHEL, Agua, and several other medtech companies delivered 60,000 ventilators in a matter of 6 weeks, which is a world record. And we started, as Canada, we started manufacturing ventilators in 2014 and exported out of the country. But for the country to recognize that there's an Indian medtech company, it took the pandemic. So I think there has been a gap in the past. There has to be something that's very, very drastic that has to be done, especially for the medtech sector. Indian medtech sector provides a very unique opportunity. We are 80% cheaper in R&D investments compared to Europe, US, and Japan. We are 60 to 70% cheaper in engineering, verification, validation, regulatory engineering compared to the rest of the world. And just manufacturing in India, designing in India will bring about 50% cost down without a breakthrough. Medtech's low volume, high complexity applies all streams of engineering. We have pure science, medicine, engineering, robotics, embedded hardware, software, DSP, imaging, metallurgy, plastics, nuclear physics, and so on. And we have an edge here, but we need badly a very strong domestic demand. Just attracting MNCs and Indian companies to invest in medtech will not happen unless there is a demand, and the demand is through our Ayushman Bharat and rural healthcare programs. I think there is a need for us to publish white papers every year to find out what happened with the $1 billion allocations every year that we made on rural healthcare programs for the last 10 years. The deployment has been quite different from what has been allocated. The second most important thing for the medtech industry is transparent government tendering, procurement, and payment systems. It's not a right forum, but I would like to bring to your attention that there are some states that have not paid for 4 years to the medtech sector, and the sector which is already in quite a bad shape is in the verge of collapse in certain sectors. And this is very important. It may be a state subject. The third thing is on the legal system. So the government, the state governments, and sometimes also the center, they depend on the delayed justice system in the country. And a lot of investors are asking us to have our corporate offices in Singapore, UK, Netherlands, and Switzerland, because it takes endlessly, to get justice for industrial disputes in the country. And this is, as a package, it has to be worked out together. For Vision 2030 and Vision 2047, we request the Honorable Minister to put together a 3-day intensive workout rather than a panel discussion and a meeting, where we have the Ministry of External Affairs, MeitY, Ministry of Women and Child Care to evolve an action plan to bring all the departments together. One of the things we found in the current situation is the communication between ministries, which has been hampering a lot in the medtech sector. India has a 30 billion export possibility by 2030 in the medtech sector and 100 billion by 2047 if we act now and act fast. On the technology front, there's just one point that I wanted to bring. On the PNDT Act, which was brought in 1990, is still being followed, and this act, which is very, very important for rural healthcare, mass wellness, is hampering use of ultrasounds in many more applications in the country. And this is the safest and the cheapest technology. This has to have a very special attention from the ministry and from the government. And a special request to the Niti Aayog, sir, is that during the pandemic, we have bought almost 8,000 crores of equipment, and they are all lying after the pandemic. There has to be, the public sectors can maintain them and create a pandemic or a emergency response system with these equipment. Otherwise, in 3 to 4 months, most of these equipments will not be usable. And it's more important to incentivize domestic R&D, component manufacturing base, and not just last-minute assembly and screwdriver technology. There is a lot more that we can do. In the coming days, we will have a discussion, but we are looking forward for a cross-ministry workout. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sri Alva. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the pleasure of welcoming in our midst this morning Dr. V.K. Paul, Honorable Member Niti Aayog. May I now request the Honorable Dignitary to kindly share his thoughts on this august occasion. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome.
Namaskar. Good morning. Honorable Union Minister of Chemicals and Fertilizers and Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya ji, Honorable Minister of State, Shri Bhagwan Khube ji, dignitaries on the dais, distinguished colleagues. I congratulate the audience for coming face to face in this conclave to think through our path as we move into a re-energized phase of our work, particularly in the wake of Atmanirbhar Bharat and the Amrit Kal of our great nation. Sir, with your permission, I'll make 4 points. First and foremost, on behalf of all of us, we would like to thank you and congratulate you as industry for rising to the occasion in the wake of the pandemic. Thank you for creating the vaccines made in India. Thank you for ensuring that you created capacities for drugs when the new drugs were needed. Remdesivir is case in point. And thank you also for an upsurge in creating diagnostics. I know from Dr. Bhargav that 96 Indian diagnostic kits were validated by ICMR in a matter of 12 weeks. New diagnostic that you created. So thank you on behalf of the nation. My second point is a substantive point. One of the difficult, coming from research and academic background, I want us to think in this meeting and beyond how to create the translational research and develop pipeline. It is a matter of fact that in the laboratories and in the engineering departments and in the garages of the startup aspirants, there are molecules, there are technology, there are devices. They prove they're working to an extent. We have a proof of concept. But then this is stuck here. If it has to reach the patient in the hospital or further down in home, the journey beyond this is something which is very difficult, very boring, laborious, and tiring. This journey is translational research. And this journey cannot be accomplished by an engineer or a doctor alone. It has to be done with other partners, including the regulator, industry, Invest India, startup helpers, venture capitalists, and so on. If these products don't reach here, they fall what we call as valley of death. I want us to address how India can create a robust and a lasting bridge to bridge the bench, the lab, and the patient and home. We like you to think how this pathway has to be created. And Niti in particular, with our distinguished colleagues in other departments, in particular coming from Dr. Bhargav's great experience in this space, we would really like to work to create pathways for ensuring that things that look promising, they reach here. You know, this journey is so difficult and frustrating that somebody will start creating a product, has faith in the product, even gets patent, even gets visibility and award, but then it doesn't reach here and the person gets very, very frustrated. I have felt that myself for some of the effort that I did. So I want you to think through this, and I do want to acknowledge here excellent contribution by Stanford India Biodesign, the School of Innovation that Dr. Bhargav chaired, and also BIRAC from DBT, but I think we need to do much more. We need to move into a 2.0 phase in this regard, and I'll be very delighted to have NITI team working with all of you and our departments to work in that direction. My third point relates to some practical housekeeping issues. Devices, ventilators. We created ventilators, but I would now urge you to go back to the user and find out what is it that we were not perfect about. Because we do hear stories that this didn't work, this didn't work. This could have nothing to do with the design. It may be nothing to do with the product. It may be education. It may be a humidifier which was forgotten to be incorporated or to be procured. But I want us to go back and say what happened to these technologies from the user. So that is one task that I like to give back to you, so that next time around we have a super perfect system. I like us to remember that assistive devices, huge market is emerging for assistive devices. Please keep talking about assistive devices for the disabled, for the elderly, for the people with special needs, children, old people. Assistive devices is a huge, huge potential for our nation. I want to always think through this one. And also never to forget diagnostics. I think COVID has taught us that devices, equipment, implants is one thing, but please talk about diagnostics. Huge space for a point of care diagnostic. For even hemoglobin, we don't have a perfect device, leave alone anything else. We do not have a perfect device for sickle cell disease, for example. And we can go on and on and on. And renal disease, creatinine. We want to start a kidney, early detection of chronic disease, but where is a simple diagnostic such as creatinine, or for liver function tests that can be done in a tribal health and wellness center? So please start thinking about this. I would very much support creation of a huge research fund, which has been projected as an idea by the Honorable Secretary in their paper, a huge research fund. And I would also like to mention here, by way of information, that through NITI's and colleagues, pharma and health efforts, we created together, BIS created 1,210 standards for medical devices, something that is not known. I want you to think about using them, looking at them, refining them. 1,210 standards for 965 devices are available. Sometimes it is said, है ही नहीं इंडिया के पास. ये बन चुका है 4 साल 3 साल पहले. आप इसको इस्तेमाल करिए. And I would also endorse that we must create an ecosystem and an enabling system such as a council for promoting the medical devices in a holistic way, so that it's not BIRAC doing something, ICMR doing something, but can we do it holistically? And I think a mechanism such as that, along with funding, would make a critical difference. Thank you very much for patient hearing. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the privilege and honor of welcoming in our midst today Shri Bhagwant Kuba, Honorable Union Minister of State for Chemicals and Fertilizers and New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. It gives me great pleasure to request the Honorable Minister, sir, to kindly address the August gathering. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome.
Seventh International Conference on Pharma and Medical Device सेक्टर के लिए मंच पर उपस्थित उद्घाटक के रूप में भारत सरकार के मंत्री जी डॉक्टर मनसुख भाई मांडविया जी, मंच पर उपस्थित नीति आयोग के सदस्य वी.के. पॉल जी, मंच पर उपस्थित बलराम भार्गव जी, दीपक बगला जी, गगनदीप सिंह जी, अरुण चवला जी, श्रीमती अपर्णा जी, कमलेश पंत जी, विश्व प्रसाद अलवा जी, हबील खुरवाला जी, और विशेष करके आज इस बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण 3 दिन का अंतर्राष्ट्रीय समावेश के अंदर भाग लिए हुए देश और विदेश के जाने माने संशोधक, इंडस्ट्रीज के स्टेक होल्डर्स, एकेडमिशियंस और इस क्षेत्र के अंदर प्रत्यक्ष और परोक्ष सहभागी देने वाले भाइयों और बहनों और मीडिया मित्रों, ये क्षेत्र बहुत ही आशादायक क्षेत्र है और इस क्षेत्र के अंदर बहुत संभावना भी है। इसी के लिए आज से लेकर के 3 दिन हमारे ग्रुप डिस्कशन के अंदर, इंटरैक्शन के अंदर बहुत से विचार भारत 2047 के अंदर, आने वाला 25 साल के अंदर इस क्षेत्र के अंदर हमारा उपलब्धियां और विश्व के अंदर हमको कहाँ खड़ा होना है, और इस मार्गदर्शन में भारत सरकार भी किस तरह से आपका सुझाव नीति बनाने में, PLI स्कीम बनाने में, केवल भारत मेक इन इंडिया फॉर ग्लोबल आल्सो, उस दिशा में हमको काम करने का बहुत अवसर भी है। हम देखे हैं पिछला 2 साल से कोरोना महामारी के अंदर भारत किस ढंग से इसको निभाया। स्वयं WHO के चेयरमैन भारत कोरोना महामारी के अंदर जो निभाया है उसको सराहना करते हैं, और भारत के अंदर वैक्सीनेशन उत्पादन करने के बाद स्वयं इंग्लैंड के प्रधानमंत्री आकर के भारत का उत्पादन किया हुआ वैक्सीनेशन मैंने खुद लगाया है। आज भारत की ताकत विश्व में सबसे उभरते हुए और सबसे आशादायक हमें अनुभव करने में मिल रहा है। मेडिकल डिवाइसेस भारत के लिए आज का दिन $11 बिलियन की मार्केट है, लेकिन आने वाला दिनों में 2025 तक इसके पूर्ण संभावना है कि $50 बिलियन की मार्केट बनने वाली है। आज भारत करीब करीब 80% मेडिकल डिवाइसेस इंपोर्ट करती है, केवल 20% भारत में उसका उत्पादन होती है। लेकिन हमें रिसर्च और डेवलपमेंट, इनोवेशंस में जोर दे करके फोकस्ड वे से हमें उसको काम करते हुए आने वाले कुछ समय के अंदर हमें भारत के अंदर 80% उत्पादन हो और केवल 20% हमें जो क्रिटिकल टेक्नोलॉजी वगैरह है उसे हमें इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा। तो आज भारत न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी ला करके, हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजी भी डेवलप करने के लिए भारत सरकार ने नाइपर जैसे 6 संस्थाएं भारत के अंदर स्थापन किया है। इस संस्थाओं के माध्यम से टेक्नोलॉजी, इंजीनियरिंग डेवलप करके भारत में उसका उत्पादन हो, ये भारत सरकार अपेक्षा करती है। हम भारत आज फार्मास्यूटिकल का हब माना जाता है। हमारा जो प्रोडक्शन है 5th इन द वर्ल्ड, 5वां स्थान पर हमारा भारत आज विश्व के अंदर खड़ा हुआ है। तो हम जेनेरिक के अंदर भी, विश्व के अंदर कोई देश में भी अगर 4 या 5 अगर औषध दवाएं हम खरीदते हैं तो उसमें से भारत का बना हुआ एक दवा जरूर उसके अंदर रहेगी। ये भारत के लिए और हम सब के लिए गर्व की बात है। भारत सरकार बहुत ही नीति बना रही है। आज पेटेंट रूल्स, जैसे कि इंडिया फोकस ऑन न्यू ड्रग्स एंड इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ अमेंडमेंट्स टू इंडिया पेटेंट regime in 2005 that permitted patenting of pharmaceutical products 2019 with a launch of new drugs and critical trial rules. तो भारत सरकार उद्योग जगत के लिए और बनाने वालों के लिए रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस में भी काफ़ी ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस और फ्रेंडली कई नीतियां बना चुकी है और आपके सुझाव से आने वाले दिनों में भी बनाने का पूर्ण ईमानदारी से प्रयास भी करेगी। भारत हम देख रहे हैं फार्मा और मेडिकल डिवाइसेस के अंदर, एफडीआई के अंदर भारत सरकार आज एफडीआई के लिए भारत सरकार की प्रियर अप्रूवल्स लेने का कोई जरूरी नहीं है और कोलैबोरेशन करके भारत के अंदर बनाने के पूर्ण प्रमाण से भारत सरकार सिंगल विंडो के जरिए से उसको मदद करने का आज नीति बना चुकी है। उसी के कारण कई दिनों से हम देख रहे हैं कि इस सेक्टर के अंदर फॉरेन डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट काफ़ी अच्छा बड़ा करके आज एक प्रेरणादायक उस क्षेत्र के अंदर बनी हुई है। आज भारत के अंदर मेडिकल डिवाइस इंडस्ट्री बनाने के लिए भारत सरकार मेडिकल डिवाइस पार्क बनाने के लिए कॉमन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट करके सुविधाओं देने के बाद कम से कम कीमत में भारत में उसका उत्पादन हो और साथ ही साथ हम लोग उसके पीछे सिंगल विंडो किया है। फार्मा पार्क भी हमने यहाँ पर देश के अंदर बनाया है। तो ये सारे चीज़ें उद्योग जगत के लिए इनोवेशन और R&D के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण सहायक भी होगा। और इस बार 2 थीम्स हमने भारत दिया है। 2047 के अंदर भारत इस क्षेत्र के अंदर कहाँ पे हमको खड़ा करना है, तो उसको विजन डॉक्यूमेंट भी आप सभी का ब्रेन स्टॉर्मिंग हो करके आने वाला 3 दिनों के अंदर भारत सरकार को मिल सकेगा। ये हम लोग अपेक्षा भी करते हैं और उसका हम सराहना भी करते हैं। मेडिकल डिवाइसेस थीम फॉर द, जो आपने अभी मैंने कहा है, इंडिया फार्मा विजन 2047 ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव रोड मैप फॉर द फ्यूचर एंड ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग हेल्थ केयर थ्रू इनोवेशन एंड इंटीग्रेटेड सर्विसेज। भारत सरकार फार्मा और मेडिकल डिवाइसेस के अंदर अच्छे क्वालिटी के दवाई और मेडिकल डिवाइसेस भी मिले, एक्सेसिबिलिटी भी मिले और अफोर्डेबिलिटी भी मिले। ये तभी संभव है कि हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा फोकस रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट और इनोवेशन के ऊपर फोकस करके हमने यदि काम किया तो आने वाला 25 साल के अंदर आज से ही हम कुछ न कुछ आशा भाव लेकर के भारत सरकार विश्व के अंदर सबसे मजबूती से खड़ा होगा। और मैं विश्वास जताता हूं कि आज से 3 दिन लगातार एकेडमिशियंस, रिसर्च, इंडस्ट्री स्टेक होल्डर्स सभी ने ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करके बहुत ही अच्छे विचार और भारत सरकार को अच्छे एडवाइस भी मिलेंगे जैसे पॉलिसी बनाने के लिए। और ये 3 दिन के लिए फिक्की, इन्वेस्ट इंडिया और जो भी प्रत्यक्ष और परोक्ष इसको सहायता किया है, मैं सभी को तहे दिल से मैं अभिनंदन और धन्यवाद देता हूँ। और ख़ास करके हमारे बड़े मंत्री जी डॉक्टर मनसुख भाई मांडविया बहुत ही रुचि लेकर के स्वयं उन्होंने इस कार्यक्रम को रचने में काफ़ी समय उन्होंने दिया है और आने वाला 3 दिन उनका भी सहयोग इसमें रहेगा। और स्वयं मैं सारा दिन आज आपके साथ में भी रहूँगा और 3 दिन के बाद इसका कुछ न कुछ भारत सरकार के लिए, भारत के लिए अच्छा विचार आएंगे। यही आशा भावों के साथ मेरे 2 बात मैं समाप्त करता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद माननीय मंत्रीवर, हम आपके मार्गदर्शन के लिए आपके आभारी हैं। Ladies and gentlemen, we shall witness the release of 3 knowledge documents here today. The first knowledge document that we are witnessing the release of is the impact of pharma industry on the Indian economy in a post-COVID era. This is being jointly published by FICCI and KPMG India. May I invite on stage Mr. Vijay Chawla, Partner, Head Risk Advisory, Head Life Sciences KPMG in India. May I request him to please join us on stage for the release of the paper. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic created unprecedented disruption across the global pharma landscape. However, the Indian pharma sector showed immense resilience and reliability by catering to both the domestic as well as the global demand during this trying time. So, please join me in requesting the Honorable Minister, sirs, and all the dignitaries on the dais to release this knowledge document. We thank Mr. Chawla for joining us on stage for the release. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now witness the release of the second knowledge document, which is APAC Med paper. And for this release, may I invite on stage Mr. Anirudh Singh, Country Head India, APAC Med. Ladies and gentlemen, APAC Med and Invest India, under the guidance of Department of Pharmaceuticals, Government of India, have commissioned a white paper titled Enabling Growth and Innovation in the Indian MedTech Sector. This paper reviews the current landscape and shares recommendations and a roadmap to support government to realize the goals of Make in India for the MedTech industry and make India a global hub for innovation and manufacturing in the years to come. We thank Mr. Singh and his team for joining us on stage. And the third knowledge document that we shall witness the release of here today is a compilation of CEOs' speeches on important topics. May I request the Honorable Minister, sirs, to please do us the honors. I request all the dignitaries to please join in releasing this document. Thank you, sirs. Thank you, ma'am, for doing us the honors. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure in inviting Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya, the Honorable Union Minister of Health and Family Welfare and Chemical and Fertilizers, to address the August gathering. Please put your hands together and welcome him with a rousing applause.
Seventh India Pharma and India मेडिकल डिवाइस कॉन्फ्रेंस में हमारे बीच उपस्थित मेरे सहयोगी मंत्री भगवंत खुबा जी, नीति आयोग के मेंबर डॉक्टर पॉल जी, फार्मा विभाग की सेक्रेटरी अपर्णा जी, मंच पर उपस्थित सभी महानुभाव, उपस्थित इंडस्ट्रीज प्लेयर्स, स्टूडेंट्स, भाइयों एवं बहनों, सबसे पहले तो शायद 2 साल में हम पहली बार इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में फिजिकली मिले हैं। और मैं अभिनंदन देना चाहूँगा इंडिया की फार्मा इंडस्ट्रीज को, जिन्होंने कोविड क्राइसिस के दरमियान भी अपनी इंडस्ट्रीज, अपना मैन्युफैक्चरिंग चालू रख के नहीं केवल देश की रिक्वायरमेंट को पूरा किया है, लेकिन सारी दुनिया में मेडिसिन सप्लाई करके विश्व को जिस तरह से मदद की है, इस दृष्टि से मैं आपको एक बार फिर से अभिनंदन व्यक्त करता हूं। दोस्तों, दुनिया को मदद करना, देश की रिक्वायरमेंट को पूरा करना, फार्मा सेक्टर को आगे बढ़ाना, मेडिकल डिवाइस सेक्टर को आगे बढ़ाना, पिछले 6 साल से इस 7वें वर्ष है, कंटिन्यूस 3 दिन के लिए कॉन्फ्रेंस के रूप में हम इकट्ठे होते हैं। ये इकट्ठा होना इसलिए आवश्यक है, कॉन्फ्रेंस इसलिए आवश्यक है कि जब हम यहाँ गवर्नमेंट होती है, इंडस्ट्रीज होती है, इनोवेटर होते हैं, साइंटिस्ट होते हैं, सब लोग मिल के ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करते हैं। और इसलिए आवश्यक होता है कि ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से आज देश में फार्मा सेक्टर की क्या स्थिति है, दुनिया में क्या स्थिति है, भविष्य में क्या स्थिति होने वाली है, कौन सी रिक्वायरमेंट बढ़ने वाली है, कौन सा नवा इनोवेशन जिसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की आवश्यकता है, इस सारे विषय की गहन चर्चा एक कॉन्फ्रेंस के माध्यम से जब हम मिलते हैं तब होती है। और ये जो 3 दिन के सेमिनार में मैं मानता हूं कि ये पिछले से सेमिनार की फलश्रुति से ये सेमिनार थोड़ा सा अलग है और उसको अलग दृष्टि से देखना है, क्योंकि कोविड क्राइसिस के बाद एक कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रही है। कोविड क्राइसिस के बाद दुनिया बदल रही है, मेडिकल सेक्टर बदल रहा है, हेल्थ सेक्टर में बहुत बड़ा रिफॉर्म हो रहा है। ऐसी स्थिति में हम मिल रहे हैं, तब नहीं केवल हमें आज की चर्चा करनी है, वर्तमान इंडिया और ग्लोबल फार्मा की चर्चा करनी है, लेकिन उससे आगे जाके हम जब आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव मना रहे हैं तब हम है कहां और आगे हम जाना कहां है। दोस्तों, उसके लिए संकल्प करने का अवसर है। और संकल्प जब हम करते हैं और इस संकल्प को सिद्धि की ओर ले जाना है, तो आवश्यक होता है रोड मैप तय करना। आप कोई गंतव्य स्थान पर पहुंचना तय करें और आपके पास रोड मैप तय ना हो या तो रूट तय नहीं हो, तो शायद करीब आप पहुंच तो जाते लेकिन समय पर नहीं पहुंच सकते, क्योंकि आप कभी गलत रास्ते पे चल जाते हैं। सही रास्ते पे जाने के लिए रोड मैप तय करना यह आवश्यक होता है। इसलिए जब देश आजादी का 100 वर्ष मनाने जाए, यानी कि 25 साल में हमें देश का फार्मा सेक्टर को कहां ले जाना है, कौन से रूट से, कौन से पाथवे पे हमें आगे बढ़ाना है, उसके लिए क्या करने की आवश्यकता है, कैसे करने की आवश्यकता है, हमारा गोल क्या होना चाहिए और गोल को अचीव करने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए, इस दिशा में हमें 3 दिन ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करना है। और जब हम गोल सेट करते हैं, दोस्तों, ये मोदी गवर्नमेंट है, our government is pro poors, pro farmers, but industries friendly government। हम इंडस्ट्रीज के सहयोगी हैं और जब गोल सेट करते हैं तो यहां बैठ के हम कागज पे पॉलिसी निकालने वाले लोग नहीं हैं। यहां केवल आपके सामने आके भाषण देके मिनिस्ट्री चलाने वाले लोग नहीं हैं। दोस्तों, हम कोई पॉलिसी तय करते हैं, कोई डिसीजन तय करते हैं, हम कोई संकल्प करते हैं। संकल्प हम किसके लिए करते हैं? हम कोई संकल्प करते हैं तो हमारे नेशन के लिए करते हैं, देश के लिए करते हैं। और संकल्प के सहयोगी कौन हो सकता है? मेरे फार्मा सेक्टर के संकल्प के सहयोगी हमारे इंडस्ट्रीज है, हमारे इनोवेटर्स है, हमारे साइंटिस्ट है। इतना ही नहीं, मैंने रुचि लेके कहा था कि स्टूडेंट भी यहाँ उपस्थित होना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये भी हमारे संकल्प के सहयोगी है। दोस्तों, आज आप जहां हो, आज इंडस्ट्री जहां है, वहां से उसको आगे कौन ले जाएंगे? ये हमारा न्यू जनरेशन ले जाएंगे। उसके मन मस्तिष्क में क्या चल रहा है, क्या चलना चाहिए, उसका भी ब्रेन विजन ऐसे कार्यक्रम से उसको मिलना चाहिए। और तब जाके हम एक सही रोड मैप आपस में कंसल्टेशन करके तय करें। और आज तक या तो हमारा माइंडसेट ऐसा ही बना हुआ था, नहीं केवल इंडस्ट्रीज लेकिन सभी जगह पे। ये हो सकता है क्या? ये होंगे क्या? एक किंतु परंतु का माइंडसेट सालों तक हमारा रहा। लेकिन दोस्तों, मोदी जी ने केवल ये ही किया है कि ये देश की शक्ति, ये देश के यूथ के ब्रेन पावर, देश के मैन पावर, उसकी कभी इंडिया में कमी नहीं थी, नहीं है। सवाल केवल इतना ही है, ये शक्ति को पहचानना, हमारी स्वयं की शक्ति को पहचान के उसको उजागर करना। दोस्तों, ये तो कमाल की बात है। यही शक्ति को पहचान के मोदी जी ने केवल इतना ही हमारे साइंटिस्ट को कहा था कि कोविड क्राइसिस है, उसका सॉल्यूशन क्या। उसमें से भी ये मीटिंग में कई लोग बैठे थे। तब हमारे साइंटिस्ट, हमारे इंडस्ट्रीज ने कहा था कि साहब, हम रिसर्च तो कर लेते हैं, लेकिन रिसर्च को सर्टिफाइड करने के लिए या तो रिसर्च को अप्रूवल मिलने में 3-4 साल लग जाता है। इसलिए हम दुनिया में हमारी रिक्वायरमेंट के अनुसार या तो भूतकाल में हम वैक्सीन रिसर्च में दुनिया के साथ नहीं आए हैं। मोदी जी ने कहा क्या करना चाहिए, कैसे करना चाहिए। दोस्तों, जब उसके उत्तर में इस बात कही और हमारे साइंटिस्ट और हमारा इंडस्ट्रीज का स्वयं प्रत्यक्ष बातचीत करके उसका हौसला बढ़ाया, उसका नतीजा क्या निकला? दोस्तों, 9 महीने में दुनिया भी वैक्सीन लेके आई, उसके साथ इंडिया भी वैक्सीन लेके आ गया। और उसमें आप सब लोगों का सहयोग है। ये हमारी क्षमता है। दोस्तों, हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते ऐसा नहीं। एक समय था जब फर्स्ट वेव स्टार्ट हुआ था, तब दुनिया आकलन करती थी कि इंडिया में क्या होगा। इंडिया में कोविड जिस तरह से फैलेगा या तो इंडिया जिस तरह से कोविड मैनेजमेंट करेगा, उसके आधार पर दुनिया का स्टैटिस्टिक तय करते थे। दोस्तों, दुनिया तो अपना स्टैटिस्टिक तय करती रही, लेकिन हिंदुस्तान ने कोविड मैनेजमेंट भी करके दिखाया और वैक्सीनेशन भी करके दिखाया। ये हमारी क्षमता है। दोस्तों, चैलेंज को स्वीकार करना ये हमारा नेचर है। सवाल केवल इतना ही है कि कोई चैलेंज दे और चैलेंज को हमारे यूथ, हमारे इंडस्ट्रीज, हमारे साइंटिस्ट स्वीकार करे, तब उसको सही एटमॉस्फेयर मिले, सही सहयोग मिले, तो वो करके दिखाते हैं। दोस्तों, आने वाले दिनों में हमें 25 साल का रोड मैप तय करना है और इंडस्ट्रीज को कहां ले जाना है, उसके लिए ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करना है। मोदी जी के साथ हम जब बात करते हैं, तब मोदी जी ने हमेशा कहा है कि हेल्थ सेक्टर के लिए जब आप बात करो, तब केवल देश का नहीं सोचना है, दुनिया का सोचना है। हम हेल्थ सेक्टर को कभी कॉमर्शियल पर्पस से नहीं देखा है, हमने सेवा के रूप में देखा है। हमारा बिजनेस हो सकता है, लेकिन सेवा हमारी प्राथमिकता रही है। और इसलिए हमें हमारी जरूरतों को भी ध्यान में रखना है और दुनिया की जरूरतों को ध्यान में रख के जब आप ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करें 3 दिन तक, उसमें उसका रिफ्लेक्शन आना चाहिए हेल्थ सेक्टर में। आने वाले दिनों में दोस्तों हमें हिल बाय और हिल इन दोनों दिशा में काम करना है। मुझे सौभाग्य मिला है, मैं फार्मा मिनिस्टर भी हूं, मैं हेल्थ मिनिस्टर भी हूं। दो देश और दुनिया को हमें हेल्थ मैन पावर भी देना है। हिल बाय इंडिया, इंडिया के लोग दुनिया में जाएंगे और दुनिया की सेवा करेंगे। हिल इन इंडिया, आप आइए दुनिया से इंडिया में और स्वस्थ होके जाइए। ये दोनों काम हमें करना है। हमें उसको दुनिया को मेडिसिन भी देनी है और हमें स्वास्थ्य सुविधा भी देनी है। और इसलिए एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली हम क्या कर सकते हैं, उसके लिए हम लोगों ने ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करना शुरू किया है। घंटों तक उसके पर विचार विमर्श हुआ है। आप में से भी कई लोगों ने इस ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग चिंतन बैठक में उपस्थित रहने का अवसर मिला होगा। ये जब हम इस टाइप का गोल तय करते हैं, इस दिशा में चिंतन करते हैं, तब आपस में साथ में मिलकर काम करने की आवश्यकता होती है। सरकार कुछ गोल तय करे, इंडस्ट्रीज और एजुकेशन की दिशा कुछ दूसरी हो, हम गोल नहीं अचीव कर सकते हैं। मैंने मिनिस्ट्री को यह भी डायरेक्शन दिया है, कॉलेज, एकेडेमिया और इंडस्ट्रीज कभी अलग नहीं हो सकती। शायद पहले फार्मासिस्ट के कोर्सेज हो, नाइपर के कोर्सेज हो, उसके साथ इंडस्ट्रीज को जोड़ी गई थी। अभी कई समय से मैं देख रहा हूं कि लिंकेज अभी अच्छी तरह से बॉन्डिंग उसका नहीं रहा है। मैं एक व्यवस्था सुदृढ़ करना चाहता हूं कि हमारे पढ़ रहे स्टूडेंट वो इंडस्ट्रीज के साथ जुड़े। जिस सब्जेक्ट के साथ वो एजुकेशन ले रहे हैं, ऐसे सब्जेक्ट के साथ जुड़ी हुई इंडस्ट्रीज के साथ वो वर्क करे। लास्ट ईयर में वो सप्ताह में 1 बार 2 बार अवश्य कंपल्सरी वो इंडस्ट्रीज की विजिट करे, इंडस्ट्रीज के साथ काम करे, तब जाके उसको एक्सपोजर मिलेगा। और जब वो कॉलेज से पढ़ के बाहर निकलेगा तब उसको प्लेसमेंट भी मिलेगा और उसकी रुचि, उसकी क्षमता, उसका परफॉर्मेंस स्वयं भी एनालाइज कर पाएंगे और इंडस्ट्रीज भी एनालाइज कर पाएंगे। इस टाइप का प्लेटफॉर्म हमें खड़ा करने की मुझे आवश्यकता लगती है। दोस्तों, टोकन सोचने से परिणाम नहीं आता है। मोदी जी का स्वभाव रहा है, वो हमेशा टोटल में सोचते हैं, सामूहिकता से सोचते हैं, तब जाके सेट किया हुआ गोल अचीव होता है। देश में हेल्थ सेक्टर एक्सेसिबल और एफोर्डेबल हो रहा है। आपने देखा होगा जिस तरह से जब हम हेल्थ सेक्टर को एक्सेसिबल होने की बात करें, तब सबसे पहले डॉक्टर की आवश्यकता होती है। मेडिकल कॉलेज डबल हो चुकी है। एमबीबीएस की सीटें वो पहले 55,000 हुआ करती थी, 95,000 तक पहुंची। इस साल शायद 1 लाख तक पहुंच जाएगी। डॉक्टर चाहिए, डॉक्टर उपलब्ध हो गए तो हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर चाहिए, अस्पताल चाहिए। 10, 7, 8 गांव में एक हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर, 1,17,000 देश में हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर बन चुका है। मैं कल एक एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट के दौरे पर था। मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई कि एक छोटे गांव में एक हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर में मैं गया। गांव से एक गरीब पेशेंट आया हुआ था और हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर पर एक आयुष डॉक्टर बैठा था। उन्होंने उसको एग्जामिन किया, चेक किया, पेशेंट के साथ बातचीत की और उसको लगा कि मुझे और एक्सपर्ट डॉक्टर की सलाह लेने की आवश्यकता लगती है। उन्होंने तुरंत ही ई संजीवनी प्लेटफॉर्म का यूज करके टेली कंसल्टेशन के लिए मेडिकल कॉलेज के स्पेशलिस्ट डॉक्टर के साथ जुड़ गए। दोनों डॉक्टर ने आपस में बात की। स्पेशलिस्ट डॉक्टर को लगा कि मुझे पेशेंट के साथ बातचीत करने की आवश्यकता है तो उन्होंने पेशेंट के साथ भी कंसल्टेशन किया और डॉक्टर को कहा कि आप इस टाइप की मेडिसिन लिख दो और फिर 1 वीक के बाद आके मुझे मिल जाना। दोस्तों, हेल्थ एक्सेस का सबसे बड़ा एग्जाम्पल है। दूर सुदूर गांव में रहने वाला एक गरीब व्यक्ति एक हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर पर तो आ गया, लेकिन वहां ये टेली कंसल्टेशन की व्यवस्था नहीं होती तो उसको डिस्ट्रिक्ट प्लेस पर जाना पड़ता। 1, 2, 3 दिन की उसकी रोजगारी जाती, उसके परिवार के एक सदस्य को उसके साथ जाना होता। ये विचार करके सामान्य गरीब गांव के व्यक्ति को एफोर्डेबल और एक्सेसिबल हेल्थ केयर कैसे मिले, इस दिशा में गति से काम चल रहा है। टोटल में काम चल रहा है। हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर चालू हो रहा है, मेडिकल कॉलेज की स्ट्रेंथ बढ़ रही है, डिस्ट्रिक्ट अस्पताल को स्ट्रेंथनिंग किया जा रहा है, टर्शरी केयर के लिए एम्स खोली जा रही है। देश के गरीब लोगों को, मैंने सुना था आज से 8 साल पहले जब अमेरिका में ओबामा ने एक हेल्थ 10 करोड़ लोगों के लिए हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी स्कीम लॉन्च की थी और सारी दुनिया में उसकी बहुत सराहना हुई कि अमेरिका में ओबामा ने 10 करोड़ लोगों को हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी दी। लेकिन दोस्तों, मोदी जी ने देश के 10 करोड़ फैमिली यानी कि 50 करोड़ लोगों को हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी देके हेल्थ को एक्सेसिबल किया है। यानी कि आने वाले दिनों में हमें जब आप ब्रेन स्टॉर्मिंग करो तो ये चीज को भी ध्यान में रखना है कि इंडिया में डोमेस्टिक मेडिसिन का कंजप्शन भी बढ़ना है, क्योंकि जब हेल्थ एक्सेसिबल होती है तब सामान्य व्यक्ति भी मेडिसिन लेके अपने को क्योर कर सकते हैं और इसलिए वहां भी देश में इंडिजिनियस कंजप्शन भी बढ़ना है। और हेल्थ सेक्टर में जिस तरह से इनोवेशन हो रहा है, जिस तरह से रिसर्च हो रहा है, इंडिया उसमें पीछे नहीं है। दोस्तों, हम सब लोग मिलके इंडस्ट्रीज, एकेडेमिया, साइंटिस्ट, गवर्नमेंट, सब लोग साथ में मिलके 2025 साल का गोल तय करके जब देश आज़ादी का 100वां वर्ष को सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हो, उस वक्त इंडिया का हेल्थ सेक्टर कहाँ होगा उसकी कल्पना भी करनी है और उसके लिए काम भी करना है, उसके लिए ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग भी करना है और उसके लिए पाथवे भी तय करना है। इसलिए मैंने कहा कि 25, 26, 27 3 दिन का ये हमारी कॉन्फ्रेंस, ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण कॉन्फ्रेंस है। सब लोग उसमें रुचि से पार्टिसिपेंट करें, अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन करें, अपना सुझाव दें। नहीं केवल कॉन्फ्रेंस के दरमियान, लेकिन उसके बाद भी इंडस्ट्रीज एसोसिएशन हो, एकेडेमिया हो, इनोवेटर हो, आपको जो भी सुझाव देने की आवश्यकता लगे गवर्नमेंट को अवश्य दीजिए। हम उसके पर गौर करके काम करेंगे, जैसे कि आने वाले दिनों में हम हमारे हेल्थ सेक्टर को बदले। दोस्तों, देश बदल रहा है, देश आगे बढ़ रहा है, न्यू इंडिया का निर्माण हो रहा है। नया भारत के निर्माण में हम भी अपने एक नींव रखें, ऐसी अपेक्षा। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद माननीय मंत्रीवर, आपके उत्साहवर्धक शब्दों के लिए हम आपके आभारी हैं। And now I invite Dr. Habil Khorakiwala, Founder, Chairman and Group CEO of Walk Hard Limited, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Very good evening to all of you. Good morning. What we just heard from our Honorable Minister, Shri Mansukh Mandavia, was a very brilliant exposition of what India is today and what India can do. The fact that everybody has talked about management of COVID, but the fact remains that the way India has managed COVID is the best in the world, and no other country, in spite of a billion population, is anywhere near. We have seen China's policy, and they are struggling to manage COVID. The Western countries also, there is ups and downs, and still they are very much struggling. Now, what does this demonstrate? It clearly demonstrates two things, to my mind, that when there is a challenge, and when there is a challenge where we have to do something, I think we have a leadership of our Prime Minister and the government and the society in terms of doctors, hospitals, everybody, industry, everyone, comes together to meet this challenge. We always talk of our industry as the pharmacy of the world. I'll just give you one example. 25 years back, since we talk of 25 years ahead, Indian pharmaceutical industry was not present in the Western world. Today, 60% of prescription written in America, United States, comes from products manufactured in India. And that is what we have done in terms of manufacturing medicine. The whole management of COVID has taught us and the world two fundamental lessons. One, a research which used to take 5 to 10 years to find a vaccine can be shrunk in less than 1 year. And second, which many of us do not recognize equally, that there were 200 companies doing research, small companies, for finding a vaccine. 2 of us in India has found a new vaccine, and accepting one vaccine, which is a Pfizer's vaccine, all other vaccine has been discovered by small companies and universities. So this also says that there are two aspects of research. One is finding a drug or a solution to the problem. Other is a regulatory mechanism. So finding a drug or a solution to a problem, I think everyone can do it, India can do it. The second question, and that is the bigger challenge we have, is a regulatory mechanism. We were in a mission mode as far as the vaccine approval was concerned. And therefore, we cleared it along with the world. The question to all of us is, why cannot we create an ecosystem, which our secretary referred? Why can't we create a regulatory mechanism which takes ages, I would say, in normal course, to get a product approval? I'll give you my own example. We are in an antibiotic drug discovery. We are undertaking global phase 3 clinical trial. We received 6 drugs for the fastest approval by US FDA. No other companies in the world has done it. And we have yet to get a global approval in India as a part of a package. And I met the other day the health secretary only a few days back, and he is trying to speed up this process. And we are about to begin a clinical trial. So I think we need to be in a mission mode for our industry to leapfrog, because we have shown the capability that we can manufacture the product for the world. The vaccine production in India is more than 50% of the world production. Why can't we become not only the supplier of medicine, but why can't we be a leader in innovation in next 25 years? I'll give you one example. India has to look in a competitive sense with other countries. Look at the new sciences of regenerative medicine and genomics. There's nothing much medicine has come in the world. It is just evolving. And I can give you, for example, my own company is working on regenerative for last 10 years. Many other companies are in India working, but they are not in the horizon because there is a long way to go. The situation is that if we take a position in one of the areas of a future which is regenerative and genomic and things like that, and decide that we want to be globally competitive, I think the new drugs will come out of India, and we could be a global leader in pharmaceuticals, regenerative, and new form of medicine. Not only supplier of cost-effective medicine, but the new medicine which will be supplied at cost-effective level and meet many of the requirements. With these thoughts, I would like to thank our Honorable Minister, Mr. Kulbeji, Aparnaji, and everyone who are present here and spoken, and wish that this conference is great success. And this is coming out of the inspiration which we have received. But I just wanted to just quote Gandhiji. I'm just running out of time, but I thought I must quote that, Gandhiji. And what Gandhiji said, a man is a product of his thoughts. What it thinks, he becomes. If India thinks what we can become a leader, not only in producing medicine, but discovering new medicine, we can in the next 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries on the dais, with that, we conclude the inaugural ceremony of India Pharma 2022 and India Medical Device 2022. But let me remind you once again, the Pharma CEO Roundtable with the Honorable Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers, Department of Pharmaceuticals, and Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers is scheduled to start in conference hall number 2, which is on the second floor. So may I request you all to kindly proceed accordingly. And the state's meeting with the medical device company CEOs will be held in conference hall number 1, second floor. We are just going to start the next session within 10 minutes, so please kindly proceed accordingly. And once again, thank you all for joining us here today.
Hello, check 1, check 2, check 3. Hello, hello, check 1, 2, 3, check 1, 2, 3. Hello, final check, check final. Hello, 1, 2, 3.
Hello, is it audible to everyone? So very shortly we are starting today's workshop. A very good afternoon to one and all present in this workshop. I, Tikita Mishra, on behalf of National Coordination Center, Material Vigilance Program of India, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, welcome all the delegates and speakers of today's workshop entitled Material Vigilance Program of India. I would like to thank Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, and the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI, for providing this great opportunity. The objective of today's workshop is to develop the basic understanding on Material Vigilance Program of India and to enhance the culture of reporting among medical device stakeholders. It is our pleasure and honor that today we are having with us Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, Secretary cum Scientific Director, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, to chair the workshop. Now, I request you, sir, to please come on the dais. Now, I also request eminent speakers of today's workshop, please come on the dais. Dr. Harmeet Singh Rehan, Director, Professor and Head from Lady Hardinge Medical College. Dr. Ravikant Sharma, Deputy Drugs Controller, Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, CDSCO. Dr. V. Kali Selvan, Senior Principal Scientific Officer, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. Mr. Animesh Thakur, Head, Quality Assurance India, Boston Scientific India Private Limited. And Dr. Satunja Shukla, Scientific Assistant, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. In order to proceed further, now I would like to invite Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, Secretary cum Scientific Director, Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to thank Department of Pharmaceuticals and FICCI for giving us this opportunity to arrange this workshop on a very important topic related to material vigilance. And we all know that this is becoming, medical devices are actually becoming very popular day by day because of their use and the spread of, spread of the use in different parts and different domains of medical field. With the implementation of the device regulations in much more structured way, this country is actually going to see a boom in medical devices domain in time to come. Very shortly, it's not far away. And from where we are today, we'll see exponential increase in the use of medical devices. And with increase in the medical devices, we'll also have to keep this in mind that material vigilance becomes very important because of the factors like why do we do material vigilance? And material vigilance has mainly three reasons why do we do material vigilance. One is certainly to complete the feedback loop and the information which we collect on adverse events that helps us improve the devices. Second is to avoid those kind of incidences in future or minimize them if we cannot avoid completely. Certainly we can minimize. And third certainly is the increase in awareness among both the practitioners and the patients who use these devices. And the most important aspect which we have seen being the custodian of material vigilance is that it gives an opportunity to reduce the risk of surprise events. The patient is aware about the possibility of a AE if we collect robust data of material vigilance. And based on the data which we collect, when we put that in the system for increasing awareness, the patient is detailed properly before the device is handed over or basically implanted in the body, if it is an implant. And the patient knows that this is the possibility. They can expect this kind of AEs. So they will not be surprised and the panic will not set in if something happens. And that is a big factor in medical field. Because a lot of, even in the extreme fatalities happen because of these surprised and when the whole family gets panicked if something happens. So that's the importance of material vigilance. And certainly it gives an opportunity to innovate further. Because based on the feedback data from the field, from the real users, whatever data comes, if somebody wants to look into that data for the opportunity to innovate and improve the devices, that's probably the most relevant source of information basis which the innovations can happen. So there is a lot of importance being given, and it should be given in time to come on this part of vigilance. When we compare with pharmacovigilance, it is still in a nascent stage. Just 4 years ago, IPC got involved in material vigilance. In this country, it's 6 years since it started, whereas the pharmacovigilance came in 2009, so almost 12 years. So the learnings of pharmacovigilance, we are actually implementing in material vigilance in developing the infrastructure and network in this country to get this program to the next level. The devices, like we all know, there are 4 categories of devices, A, B, C, D, and there are life-saving devices which are used with patients. There are joints, there are hip joints, there are stents, there are medicated devices. So all these have shown their importance, and we all know that why they are important and they are life-saving. But this whole material vigilance domain is little complicated as compared to pharmacovigilance. And that complication comes because of the factor that in pharmacovigilance it is mainly to do with the drug. 90% of any event can be actually assigned to the drug per se, or maybe more than 90%. When it comes to material vigilance, the factors get distributed among the device, which is the machine, the material of which the device is constructed, and the man. And when it comes to man, there are 2 different kinds of man, if I can say, because I'm just saying, see, m to the power 4. So one is material, one is machine. One man is the person who is actually putting the device in the patient's body, or he's using that as for the operator. And the fourth is the second man is the patient himself or herself, on whose body the material or the device is being fixed. So there are 4 different components which are equally responsible for any event which can happen. And the analysis or the causality, which we say technically, becomes so much complicated that we have to define to the last point that this event could have happened because of the material of the construction or the device per se, that is machine, or it is the operators or the clinician's fault, or it is because of the patient's non-compliance or rejection of the device. So it is a bit complicated as compared to pharmacovigilance, and that is why it needs much more effort and awareness, where you all can actually help us in creating that awareness so that the reportings increase and the database increases. And unless until you have a big database, the analysis is not robust. So these kind of workshops are actually organized to help all of us, and especially we as custodians, to increase the awareness and increase the number of reportings, which can help ultimately the patient, who is the ultimate beneficiary of all these medical innovations. So in today's program, without taking much time, we have actually tried to bring experts from different fields. So we have expert from CDSCO, who is expert of the regulation, that how the medical devices are being regulated today in the new world. We have industry representative from Boston Scientific, who would give you the perspective from the industry side, that how do they see the material vigilance and their responsibility. We have Professor Rehan from Lady Hardinge Medical College, who is one of the best performing pharmacovigilance as well as material vigilance center in this country, and very passionate person personally on this whole vigilance program. And 2 of my colleagues from Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, who are involved in material vigilance practical data collection and analysis. So with this, I would invite the first speaker for today, who is Dr. Kali Selvan, my colleague from Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission and who heads the material vigilance program at IPC. So Dr. Kali Selvan received his undergraduate and postgraduate degree in pharmacy from Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University, Chennai, and he completed his PhD from University of Delhi. He has 21 years of multiple experiences in pharmaceutical sectors such as academic, preclinical and clinical research. And before material vigilance, he was managing pharmacovigilance program for IPC and in this for this country. And maybe because of his contribution to PVPI program, when we started the material vigilance program, he was shifted to manage and grow this whole material vigilance program. And in his under his leadership, this program is actually growing very fast, and he will share his experiences and how this material vigilance program is structured at IPC and at the national level. So, Kali, please. Thank you. So I just missed one thing, that we will have a question and answer session at the end. So people who have any questions, they can just note it down. And at the end, we will have 10-15 minutes on question and answer. All the speakers will be available to answer the questions.
also chair for this session. Respected my colleagues on the dais, dear delegates, very good afternoon to all of you. It's my proud and privilege to share some of the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission's experiences and some achievements as well as challenges while implementing this Material Vigilance Program of India at Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. So I'll be precise in my slides while explaining the fact and achievements. Developments of Material Vigilance Program of India, I am happy to share with you that you all might be knowing that Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission is one of the premier institutions in the country as well as world in terms of promoting the quality standards for drugs and pharmaceuticals, where we publish Indian Pharmacopoeia at regular interval. Similarly, we do develop and certify the reference standards and impurity standards for the respective monographs. We have also given the responsibility to update and publish the National Formulary of India, a book of promoting the rational use of medicines. So that is also one of our responsibility, and these are the main responsibility for us. And recently we have been, not recently, and more than 10 years we are coordinating this Pharmacovigilance Program of India as a national coordinating center, and in the year 2018 onwards we are also coordinating the Material Vigilance Program of India as a national coordinating center. While implementing these two programs, both Pharmacovigilance Program of India and Material Vigilance Program of India, we have a lot of advantages in implementing the policy as well as other aspects of pharmacovigilance and material vigilance, because we have the Medical Device Adverse Events Monitoring Center as well as Adverse Drug Reaction Monitoring Centers under the Pharmacovigilance Program of India. So there are some areas are common for both PVPI as well as MVPI, particularly when it comes to the training, which is one of the very integral as well as important part of implementation of the program. Whenever we conduct any virtual or physical kind of trainings, we try to incorporate both the modules of drugs and devices so that we can able to map the resources. And now we are also addressing the issue of manpower, the manpower which is appointed at Pharmacovigilance Center. We are also advising them, we are also encouraging them to report the adverse event associated with medical devices, vice versa. And also the training, particularly when it comes to the training for the industry stakeholders, there is always a module of medical device adverse event reporting, which is a part of the pharmacovigilance training program as well as medical device also. Currently, we would able to establish 174 specific medical devices monitoring centers pan-India. So these are the centers located at the hospitals or medical colleges or even multi-speciality hospitals, corporate hospitals, and we are trying to enter into the district level hospital also. I will be discussing briefly in my next slides. So these 174 centers are exclusively for medical devices. Besides, we have 567 pharmacovigilance centers. Now those centers also started reporting medical devices, particularly the contrast media and other related medical devices. So this is the update of centers actually. When it comes to the practice, medical device adverse event monitoring or reporting practice is concerned, actually currently most of the center, 98% of the centers are being established at the tertiary care system, tertiary health care. But if you look at the class-wise, risk-based classification of the medical devices, like class A, class B, class C and D, majority of the devices are also used in the primary healthcare as well as secondary healthcare. So here there are a lot of challenges still we need to move forward in establishing the system is one thing, and also to inculcate the practice of medical device adverse event monitoring. It should start from the primary health care also, because most of the devices you can see as per the CDSU or medical devices rule, most of the devices are also used in the primary and secondary healthcare system. So over the years to come, our focus is not only establishing a medical device adverse event monitoring center at tertiary care, we are also equally committed to establish such center in the primary and secondary healthcare. It's also our responsibility to continuously provide the resource materials like information, educational and communication materials for the stakeholders so that the reporting can be initiated or can be enhanced. So these resource materials are also made available for the stakeholders. It is available in our website, and it is also available through the monitoring centers. Other than providing or publishing the resource material, actually there was a need of medical devices or material vigilance related research information. So in the year 2016 or 17 or 18, up to 18, we were not having any reference point for material vigilance. So even WHO approached us to do some kind of research or publication kind of material, so that WHO member states also can refer our material. So we started doing some kind of research by understanding the field level challenges and experiences while implementing the material vigilance. So we have published this article in the WHO bulletin, which is one of the highly referred article at present globally by the WHO member states as well as other stakeholders. Apart from this, we have also published 7 research articles, which is also available for the stakeholders. And then the reporting trend is concerned, though we are in initial stage, but as reporting trend is increasing now, I am very happy to share with you that in the year 2020 alone, we could able to generate 3,473 adverse events, which is associated with medical devices, which is 200% increase as compared to the previous year, that is 2020. So all the reports are being categorized, who is performing or who is reporting, and where we require more training or strengthening is required. As compared to the medical device adverse event monitoring centers, the marketing authorization holders contribution also equal in the year 2021. They are reporting also very good numbers as well as quality wise also. And other than that, I am very happy to share with you that consumer reporting also started now, and it's maybe too early to comment, but there are some experiences I would like to share with you here, that in the vigilance practice is concerned, maybe pharmacovigilance or medical devices. Now the consumer report also end up with some kind of signals. This is the first time in the Indian pharmacovigilance or vigilance practice is concerned. So very soon we will be coming up with some signals or some findings with respect to the consumer reporting. So this is also emerging now. And the trend analysis, if you look at the trend analysis of adverse events, there are cardiac stents associated adverse events are highly contributing, that is 27% of adverse events associated with the use of cardiac stents. Then intrauterine contraceptive devices also reports are also available. That trend analysis is also being done, and necessary recommendations are also being communicated to the stakeholders. If you look at other related adverse events like ocular related devices, cataract devices, glaucoma related devices also started coming up. So this other reports constitutes around 53%, and overall after thorough analysis, multiple level of experts review and other partnering organizations review, then we could able to recommend 11 recommendations to the regulatory authority for necessary action. Besides communicating the advisory or risk to other regional medical devices as well as pharmacovigilance adverse events monitoring center, there were 21 such cases. Now the recent development is that the government of Kerala has issued an order to all its medical colleges as well as district hospitals of 44 in their state. Participating in the material vigilance program of India is mandatory for them. So this is the order issued by the government of Kerala. Subsequent to this order, again the Kerala State Health Mission Director issued an notice to all state medical colleges as well as hospitals to participate in the induction as well as implementation training program, which is scheduled on 4th May. So there all 44 medical colleges superintendent as well as district medical superintendent will be addressed the modalities as well as implementation plan. So this is a great initiative by the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission as well as the government of Kerala for implementing this MVPI. Now let us come to the challenges. Yes, of course there are quite number of challenges before us, but there are few to highlight, like patient-centric movement. We are working towards patient involvement or consumer direct reporting to the program. for that we are planning various studies, developing the tools, modalities, trainings, etc. So all under the pipeline. So here again, the stakeholder support is pivotal for ensuring the patient-centric movement. Then integration of the MVPI with some public health programs like blindness control program, where the number of cataract surgeries are performed and the ocular medical devices are used in the cataract and blindness control program. Similarly, family planning control program where intrauterine contraceptive devices are used. So the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission is working towards integrating with MVPI with public health programs. And then recently we have been also approaching the NABL for in vitro diagnostic monitoring system strengthening, because as per the CDSU notification, in vitro diagnostic kits also classified as medical devices, and their performance, like false positive and false negative reports, also to be detected, and which those reports needs to be reported to MVPI. So we are working with NABL for implementing this activity. Of course, a research-based approach for data, not only for data generation, even for data analysis, collation, and comparison also we require some research-based approach. So this is also under the pipeline for us. So within this, once again, I thank the opportunity, and I also thankful to the chair as well as my colleagues on the dais, all the delegates, those who are attending this program, and I request all of you to make it grand success of this workshop. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Kali, and this was, I'm sure, helpful to the audience. An overview of how IPC is managing. More detail you will get in the last presentation by Shatrunjay. But the next one is from Dr. Ravikant Sharma, who is Deputy Drug Controller working with CDSU organization and responsible for the medical device division. He is probably, I don't have any hesitation in saying that most experienced regulator in this country when it comes to medical devices. So Dr. Ravikant Sharma has completed his MSc and PhD and now working as Deputy Drug Controller at CDSU headquarters, FDA Bhavan, New Delhi. He is heading the medical device and diagnostic division at CDSU headquarters and looking after the regulation of medical devices and in vitro diagnostics in this country. He was actively involved in drafting the Medical Device Rules 2017, which is already implemented from 1st January 2018. So this may be an opportunity for all of you to ask questions to get some clarification on the new regulation. And if there are, just note them down and we will try to address through Dr. Sharma at the end during question answer session. Dr.
Which one? Okay, yes. This one? Yes. Okay. Respected Chair, Dr. Rajiv ji, delegates, colleagues from industries, students, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to all of you. My name is, as Dr. Rajiv ji has introduced, Dr. Ravikant Sharma. I am a Deputy Drugs Controller and I am heading the Medical Device Division in CDSU headquarters. So today I am going to talk on the regulation of medical devices, and if you have any doubt, any questions, please ask me in the last of the session. So my presentation will cover the introduction part, the regulation of medical devices, what are the salient points of the Medical Device Rules 2017, what are the standards and the material vigilance program, new notification for regulation of medical devices, and what are the achievements of CDSU and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. As you are aware that total market size of the medical device and in vitro diagnostic kits is approximately 11 billion US dollar. Out of that, 7 billion US dollar is for import and 4 billion US dollar for export. The projected growth rate is approximately 20%, and the import of total market size 75% we are dependent on import. That is the question of the concern. In the inauguration session, Honorable Minister has stated that we have to reduce and we have to cut the import and we have to increase the Make in India drive in our country. Right now, only notified medical devices and in vitro diagnostic kits are under regulation. We have issued the manufacturing permission for more than 1,400 manufacturing sites for medical devices in the country, and there is a 100% foreign direct investment for medical devices. So the medical device rules 2017 have been implemented from 1st of January 2018, and the medical device rules are harmonized with the international regulatory practices and provide comprehensive legislation for the regulation of medical devices like import, clinical investigation, manufacturing, sale and distribution. Before that, all the medical devices were regulated under the drugs and cosmetic rules. So the rules have been implemented from 1st of January 2018. And what is the scope of the medical device rules? The medical device rules are applicable to the substances used for in vitro diagnostic use. All in vitro diagnostic reagents and kits are under regulation, like all cancer markers like COVID kits, typhoid, clinical chemistry reagents. These are all under regulation and the licensing regime. The surgical dressings, bandages, surgical staple, suture, ligature, blood components, and the substances including mechanical contraceptive like condom, intrauterine devices and tubal rings, and the devices which are notified under Drug and Cosmetic Act from time to time. What are those medical devices? You can see in the next slide. So if you have a look from serial number 1 to serial number 14, these medical devices we are regulating from way back from 2005. The ablation device we have started regulation from 2016. These medical devices are under notification and under licensing regime. Those who are new, they can understand. Some devices are non-notified. I will take you in the next slides. The products which were regulated as a drug before, now they are come under ambit of the drugs, medical devices, like blood grouping sera, ligature, intrauterine devices, condoms, tubal rings, surgical dressings, disinfectant, etc. These 4 medical devices are under regulation from 1st of January 2021, the nebulizer, blood pressure monitoring device, digital thermometer, glucometer. And from 29 to 36, all 8 medical devices are under regulation from 1st of April 2021, and we recently notified ultrasound equipment from 1st of November 2021. So I would like to summarize with this total devices. We are regulating 37 categories of medical devices. There are so many medical devices under these categories. These are the categories, right? So if you take this example of catheter may be angiographic catheter, maybe embryo catheter. So there may be so many products. So medical device rules is comprised of 12 chapters, very well defined, very well articulated, and giving the information about the manufacturing, about the import, about the labeling requirements, about the clinical investigation, which are the new devices, permission to import and manufacture for medical devices which is not available in India, what are the duties of medical device officers, what is the information for sale of medical devices, etc. So there are 12 chapters you can go through and you will be aware what are the things to be followed. These chapters are supported by the schedule. Schedule means what are the regulatory documentation requirements. So first schedule talks about the classification. You know that medical device regulation is based on the classification, unlike drugs. The second schedule talks about the fees, about the manufacturing, about the clinical investigation, about the test license, about the manufacturing license. Fourth schedule talks about the requirement for import and manufacturing, and fifth schedule is very, very important about the quality management system. That is the horizontal standards to be followed, to be accepted by the manufacturer. Sixth schedule talks about the post-approval changes, major and minor, and seventh schedules about the clinical investigation for new medical devices. Eighth schedule talks about the exemption for custom-made devices. Then there is no regulation is required for this. So as I mentioned that unlike drugs, all the medical devices are regulated based on the classification, based on the risk base. So all these medical devices, as per the international practices, these are classified into class A, B, C, and D. The low risk class is the class A. For example, tongue depressor. Low moderate risk, this is class B, like hypodermic syringes and needles, catheters, cannula, perfusion sets, etc. Moderate high risk is the class C, like orthopedic implants, like in in vitro diagnostic kits like HIV, HBsAg, HCV, and cancer markers. And high risk associated is the class D, that is the heart valve. So if you see internationally, in Japan, in Australia, in USA, this classification is followed there, and they are following like 1, 2A, 2B, and 4. So likewise, we have, as per the Indian perspective, we have classified into 4 categories. So I have just spoken about those medical devices which are under regulation. But what about those which are not under licensing regime? For example, oxygen concentrator, the ventilator, the pulse oximeter. We don't know who is importing. We don't know how much quantity is imported. We don't know how much value is, for these equipments are imported. And what is the quality of the products. So these aspects, these facts have been thought by the Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Health has come out and contemplated and come out with a notification with the definition of the medical devices, which has to be notified under the Drugs and Cosmetic Act. You can have a look. This is the definition. All devices, including an instrument, apparatus, appliance, implant, material, used alone or in combination, including a software or accessory, for diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, treatment, supporting of sustaining life, disinfection, and control of conception. So instead of notifying the medical devices in bits and pieces, the Ministry of Health has notified the definition under the medical device rules. So those medical devices which attracts this definition, they will be under the regulation. But you cannot regulate all the medical devices overnight. You have to give the transition time to the industry to develop, to provide the infrastructures and personals. So again, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has issued a notification, and we make out a roadmap that how can we go about for the licensing of the all medical devices. So in the first is this, if you see the class A and class B, there is a voluntary registration from 1st of April 2020 to 30th September 2021 on the Sugam portal of the CDSCO. They have to register what is their trade name, what is their brand name, what is the manufacturer's name, okay, and then followed by the mandatory registration up to 30th September 2022, and all medical devices with respect to class A and class B will be under the licensing regime from 1st of October 2022. Likewise, for class C and class D, the voluntary registration for 18 months, the mandatory registration for 24 months, and the licensing regime will initiated from 1st of October 2023. So this is the roadmap. How can we regulate all the medical devices in the country? This slide demonstrates about what is the responsibility of the central licensing authority and the state licensing authority, because we have federal system in our country. If you see, the import is exclusively looked after by central licensing authority, that is central government, the Drugs Controller General of India, the DCGI. The manufacturing is looked after for class A and class B by the state licensing authority, and class C and class D by the DCGI, by the central licensing authority. Permission to conduct the clinical investigation. If the product is new in the market, then how can we give the permission to conduct the clinical investigation? That is looked after by the DCGI. The sale is looked after by the concerned state licensing authorities, and the QMS verification, the very, very important part for class A and class B by the notified bodies which are registered with CDSCO, and for class C and class D, the inspection is carried out by the medical device officers of the CDSCO. What are the salient features of the Schedule 5 that is very, very important, that is at par with the ISO 13485? What are the responsibility of the management, the control of documents? If there is a adverse reaction is reported, how can you initiate the CAPA, corrective and preventive action? What is the analysis of data, consumer related processes, and environmental requirement for notified medical devices? These are demonstrated in the Schedule 5, and that has to be complied by the manufacturer in the country. Now, if you are manufacturing the medical device, you have to follow the standards. What standards you have to follow? As per the medical device rules, each and every medical device shall conform to the standards laid down by the Bureau of Indian Standards. If the Bureau of Indian Standards are not available, then ISO standards or IEC standards. And if these are not available, then validated manufacturer standards or pharmacopoeia standards have to be followed. Until and unless your medical devices which is being manufactured in India is not qualifying with the standards, how can you use? How can you provide and sell the market for the consumer use? So standards are very, very important. For the new medical devices, I have kept this slide for the clinical investigation, because if the device is absolutely new, then how we go about the this regulatory pathway? Then it is called as clinical investigation, means the systematic study of an investigational medical device in human participate to assess its safety, performance and effectiveness. In case of in vitro diagnostic kits, the word is used as clinical performance evaluation. The clinical performance evaluation is carried out on the live samples from the hospitals. What is the investigational medical device? Means if the device is new with respect to the intended use, with respect to the composition, with respect to the design, then it is considered as a new medical device. Now, what is the regulatory pathway? How can, unlike drugs, in drugs we generally give the phase 1 trial, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4. In medical devices, we talk about the pilot clinical investigation, means that is to be carried out for the first time in human participants. And then when data is extrapolated, then pivotal clinical investigation is to be carried out on the larger population to establish the safety and effectiveness of the medical device. No permission is issued by the CLA for the academic study. Medical device claiming the substantial equivalence, that is a very, very important term. Say for example, if you wish to manufacture a medical device and you are saying my product is not new, then how can you establish? You have to show that in the predicate devices available with respect to the design, intended use, the claim, etc., etc. And if there is any injury or death, in case of the medical device, this compensation has to be provided by the sponsor and the manufacturer. The medical device innovation in India, that's a very, very important. We have listened a lot of part of this in the inauguration session, and I would like to draw your kind attention of the Make in India and Ease of Doing Business of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. The first and foremost is we have to innovate the new medical devices in India. The startups, the industries should come forward with the latest technological advancements with the research institutions like IITs, like DST, DBT, and to make out the new medical devices as per the customer needs. Let me tell you that the life cycle of the medical device is very short. Say for example, we have today one model, after 3 months we will be having that different model as per the customer needs. That is not like drugs. In paracetamol, we are having for more than 20 years. But if you are having today one orthopedic implants, tomorrow you will be having the new innovation. The second part is the availability, the affordability and the accessibility of the medical devices. For example, if there is an infection of Nipah in Kerala, so the diagnostic kit should be made available to each and every part of the country. We have to give the devices and IVDs to the poorest of the poor in our country. The third part is the quality. If you are maintaining the horizontal standard, the vertical standards, the MVPI, the adverse reaction, then definitely your product will be accepted not only in India, but every part of the world. And fourth is the regulation. The regulation, you know, very clear regulation is now. We used to give earlier the registration certificate, the Form 10 licenses, and after 3 years, again you have to come for the renewal. Now the license is issued with the perpetual validity. Means there is no expiry of the license. You have to submit the retention fee and you will get the license. So these are the 4 factors, very, very important, so that we can increase the export, and the medical devices sector in India needs to be empowered through private-public partnership among the Indian government, Indian researchers, Indian clinicians and multinationals. Material vigilance program, I will not take much because my colleague will explain you about that. The recall of the medical devices, that's very important. If there is a problem in the quality of the product and or the feedback of the causality assessment by the MVPI program, then regulator has to take a call and manufacturer has to withdraw the medical devices from the market. The malfunctioning of these devices should not be made available to the consumers. So the manufacturer or the authorized agent has to call immediately the faulty or the what is the design is not proper, the medical device from the market immediately. Now, what are the achievements? CDSCO is accepting all the application through online, that is the digital one, for the manufacturing, for the clinical investigation, for the notified registration, etc. Classification of medical devices and IVDs has been finalized. More than 26 categories of medical devices has been categorized and uploaded in our website. So there will be easier, and we are facilitating to our manufacturers. No regulator in the world is classifying the medical devices except India, just to facilitate the ease of doing business in India. You can have a look in our website. Grouping, notification of medical device officers. We have notified more than 240 medical device officers who can audit, who can inspect the medical device manufacturing units. CDSCO has registered more than 11 notified bodies, 9 plus 2, who are used to audit the Class A and Class B medical devices. 5 central medical devices have been notified, and CDSCO has registered 21 laboratories for testing of various medical devices on behalf of the manufacturer. For example, if manufacturer is not having the facility, how to go, where he will go, so he can use these medical device laboratories for testing for quality of the products. Draft guidance documents on stability, post-marketing, and overview of performance evaluation has been finalized and uploaded in our website. We are organizing the workshop to impart trainings for the state licensing authorities. We have already uploaded the FAQs and regular interaction on the regular basis. We are resolving the issue of the stakeholders and the associations. And most important part, we have established a PRO, Public Relation Office, in our department or in our journal offices. So you can come and you can address your, you can say your, quote your queries, and it will be resolved. So the last slide is changes call for innovation. The innovation leads to progress, and innovation is only the way to win. Take care of the patient, and everything else will follow. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. It was really a wonderful overview of the current regulations. And we all know that growth of any industry is dependent on how simple the regulations and how clear the regulations are made. So I think Government of India has taken the right step towards that, and we now have a very structured regulatory system for medical devices which can be used by the industry and the other stakeholders. So the next speaker in the workshop is Mr. Animesh Thakur, and he would bring the component of medical device industry into the workshop. He is from Boston Scientific. He has over 17 years of diverse experience across multiple geographies and industrial sectors. Animesh joined Boston Scientific in 2015, and before taking over the role of Head of Quality in January 2021, he has served as the Asia Pacific subject matter expert for key processes like distribution, warehousing, labeling, risk management, supplier controls, and field actions for over 5 years. Welcome, Animesh, and over to you.
Respected Chair, my fellow panelists and delegates, a very good afternoon to all of you. To DOP, FICCI, and IPC for organizing this event and giving me a chance to present at this great forum, and a very important one. We at Boston Scientific value the joint efforts made by us and the IPC team in reporting and evaluating the adverse events with a key focus on making healthcare safer for our patients. My topic for today is the engagement of medical device industries in medical device adverse event reporting. So first step for any organization which intends to distribute medical devices in India is to understand the rules absolutely clearly. So, so I will not deep dive into the rules, so these are available, but what is important is to really understand that what does a serious adverse event mean. And once you have that understanding, the path forward becomes much clearer. So, you know, as just to give a quick overview, that any untoward medical occurrence that leads to a death or serious deterioration in health, you know, under different aspects as mentioned on the slide, I'll not go through each of them, they are a serious adverse event. So first thing is to understand this clearly. The second thing is to understand the timelines and also understand the impact on the public health. So what would recall mean is as Sir explained, to withdraw devices that pose threat to the patient's health, or they fail to conform to the claims made by the manufacturer, or if it does not meet the requirements of the acts governing the nation, right? So the timeline is also very important to be understood, and the point I would like to raise here is that the timelines from the guidelines, you know, are for the reportings. But as an organization, you should be ready to be able to meet these timelines, which means that you have processes that support these timelines. So as an industry representative, this is a recommendation I make, that you know, your processes supporting this regulation from your organization are very, very stringent and very, very thought through. So what is the importance here? So as I show on the slide, you know, there are 3 risks identified. Patient risk is the first and the foremost and the most important risk, because everything around the risk or the adverse events are concentrated on patient. That's where the highest impact happens. And of course, you know, it would lead to regulatory risk for the organization and eventually a business risk. But the key point here is that keeping patient safety at the forefront of all the thoughts is the right way to approach if you intend to distribute medical devices in any country. There are certain other important aspects of vigilance reporting in medical devices. So the first one is that optimization of medical device to maximum without compromising on patient safety. So as my fellow panelists just before me mentioned that, you know, it is a very evolving field. It's a changing world. And the technology advancements are happening at a very, very fast pace. So how to be sure that, you know, whatever advancement, whatever better care we are planning for the patients, they don't have any additional risk. So these reportings, you know, they are a testimonial of how the devices are performing. And along with that, you get isolated events or, you know, some pockets in the geography. It kind of gets a huge data, so it kind of gives a very scientific approach. And of course, you know, the positive contributions to public health, you know, by identifying potential safety issues much faster and more accurately so that the spread can be stopped and the threat can be neutralized in a short time. I would also say that, you know, from as an industry's point of view and somebody who is supplying the medical devices, you know, for us, one of the key benefit is that we can identify any unintended use of the medical device in the field. So any malfunction or deterioration in the characteristics or performance can be foreseen, and then, you know, our response and our reaction time becomes much faster. So these are some of the important aspects of the you know, vigilance in medical device industry. Further, this is on this slide, you know, you can see the whole ecosystem that works, you know, in the distribution and use of medical devices. The manufacturer manufactures the devices, and through importer, the importer brings the devices in, and either through distributors or directly, the devices go to the hospitals, and then they're used by the healthcare professionals onto the patients. So this whole ecosystem, you know, there are so many different aspects which can go wrong, right? And a serious adverse event would not always mean that the device is malfunctioning. It's like something in the ecosystem is not working. So that's why the information which comes in has to be very clear, very precise. The procedures, at the organization level have to be so strong so that the real feedback can be taken in, because this is what will help us take the realistic actions, do the accurate reporting. So, though the adverse event, happens first, but then how do we come to know is through complaints. So for us, that is the point of start. So understanding what is a complaint, any written, electronic or oral communication that alleges deficiencies related to identification, quality, reliability, effectiveness, performance, and various other aspects of a medical device that has been placed in the market. So something which, I would very openly want to share with is that as organizations, who are supplying medical devices, we should be very open, we should be very transparent in accepting the feedback. In any complaint that comes, or any feedback that comes has to be registered as a complaint. We should not be biased to look on whether it's our device related issue or not, but in general, any feedback that has come has to be acknowledged and registered as a complaint. Further, of course, the experts can analyze and find whether there is an impact with the device or not, but this judgment should not come up front. So we should be very open in accepting the complaints, because that's where the real feedback comes in. So this is the complaint investigation process, and I'll explain that how does it relate with the serious adverse events and the reporting. So once a complaint is received, the first judgment that is made or investigation is done, whether it's a product-related issue or it is a non-product-related issue. For all the cases where it is not related to the product, through a thorough investigation, we would keep on investigating further and take further actions, in terms of communication, both incoming and outgoing, and then providing a resolution to the complaint, and we'll close it. But for product-related issues, we need to make a judgment whether it is a serious adverse event or a non-serious adverse event. So for non-serious adverse events, we will continue the process as defined in the complaint management process, and then take all the actions and close the complaint. But when we come to the serious adverse events, right? So we need to make a judgment whether is there a public threat or not. If there's a public health threat, so the timeline is 2 days to be reported for the initial report, and if it is any other serious adverse event or leading to death, it has to be reported within 15 days. And then after that, the process will follow in terms of follow-ups, any questions coming back to us from the regulators, and then, the final report submission. So this, in all, is the, process of complaint handling. I'll also share a bit about the decision-making. Sorry, my apologies. So next, so on the serious adverse event, reporting, the timelines are very important. So as I said, that the processes within the organization have to be strong to be able to meet these timelines, because the threats are real, the public health is of utmost safety. So next I'll talk about the relationship between complaints, serious adverse events, the kind of analysis that happens, what is trending, and when do we take action, when does a CAPA come into the picture. So generally it's a thought and expectation that every serious adverse event will be having a CAPA associated, which is the case when the device is the one causing that impact. So there are teams of experts, at division level or group level, who very closely monitor the trends. They monitor the complaints, they monitor the serious adverse events, and then they have their threshold limits defined at multiple levels. So as long as the occurrences are within the tolerance, so we continue to monitor. But when they go beyond tolerance, so a non-conformance or a CAPA is raised, and depending upon the impact, a decision is taken whether a recall is required or not. So that's the interrelationship between multiple aspects of complaint, adverse event reporting, trending, and a CAPA and a recall. So I believe that's my last slide. But then again, thank you very much for this forum. This is a very emerging topic, and then I think workshops like this are very, very important in terms of guiding us that what should be the processes, what sort of technology we should be using. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks, Animesh. Thanks a lot. It was really a wonderful presentation, compilation of the industry's perspective. One thing which I have noticed in last little over 1 year of my joining IPC is that medical device industry is much more open and proactive when it comes to adverse events reporting and analysis of the situation, which I would have expected the other side in the vigilance also, but I am happy to actually share the industry this feedback. And my expectation and request would be that we should continue this trend and the way it is working, because when any domain grows the way medical device is expected to grow in future, somewhere somehow we miss there is a chance of missing the good parts also. So my request to the industry would be that please maintain this openness when it comes to adverse event identification, reporting, and the proactiveness in the whole process. So our next speaker is Professor Harmeet Singh Rehan, who is a professor at Lady Hardinge Medical College. And as I said in my introductory remark, that this is one center for both pharmacovigilance and material vigilance, which is one of the top performing centers in this country. And he personally is very passionate about vigilance as a subject. And one thing which I also recognize Dr. Rehan for is that he is one of very few centers who has refused to take resources from IPC to conduct the vigilance process. Others actually fight with us to get resources, but he said that no, we will do it on our own, and that's the example of passion which he carries. So Dr. Rehan is a trained expert in pharmacovigilance, pharmacoeconomics, and pharmacoepidemiology. He is member of several national and international scientific bodies, including WHO, ICMR, and others, and national programs like Pharmacovigilance Program of India and Material Vigilance Program of India. Over to you, Dr. Rehan. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Rajiv Singh. Man with an immense energy, triple engine, quadruple engine. I will not talk about the double engine. Great man there, Kali Selvan. Has an experience of making as a success program. Then he was shifted from there to this program. I'm very sure that he will take this also to the this program to the new heights. I think that was what we discussed on our very first day. I'm very confident because we have a lot of experience with us. We have a lots of centers working, lot of coordinators working for the program. Most of the centers are performing good. And this experience of our coordinators will make the material vigilance program a success very soon. And I personally believe material vigilance is more important than the pharmacovigilance. Devices are used at home also and a hospital also. There are many serious patients at home. Those who require a life support, they stay at home. Hospital cannot accommodate every patient in a hospital. So home is a place where we are using medical devices. In the last 2 years, we have seen all type of mask.
funny masks, designers' masks. Still, I need to see one mask which is following the full criteria. How I came to know. My daughter is in one of the university, UNSW. She had an appointment for a mask. I said, what is this appointment for a mask? You have so many, we have given you hundreds of masks, you use it. I said, no, it's not that. They took a picture of the face, dimensions of the face. They prescribed one type of mask to her, okay? Diamond shape and boat shape, and there was the shapes of the, according to the face. One was selected for her. She had 3 appointments. And it must be for every doctor in a good university, good hospital. 3 appointments. And finally decided that this boat-shaped mask will fit on her face because she need to go to wards and the patient care setting. Final testing showed that there is a leakage of the air out of that even. See the meticulous job of people. And this fitness of the mask is not done by the doctor, done by a team of biomedical engineer, experts, having devices to see that is there any leakage. And in our setting, when we go to the OT, we follow the triple layer mask. And one mask over the another mask. Sometime I have seen people wearing 3 masks, almost choking. This is a place where we need to improve, to provide the medical devices. We are living in a ocean of medical devices, remember. How many of you unfortunately got an opportunity to sit on a wheelchair in a hospital? I wish nobody. Yes, 1. 2. We have a variety of wheelchairs. Motorized, non-motorized, with brakes, without brakes. And how easy it is to sit in a chair, you ask a person who has experience of it. Or you go to your hospital setting and try to sit in over there. I did so. It's so difficult. It slips back. Then its brake is not working. There are chances of getting hurt from a wheelchair is more than what you will be hit it outside in the, on the roadside. And why it is happening? We need to do the analysis of it. Why it is happening? Is it been made bad? Or we don't know how to use it. We do this, all these things in a hospital. And I went there, I tried to use that chair. Pedal to keep the feet is another issue. And many times we have noticed that sleeper of a patient is 50 meters behind. Because the person who is carrying the chair is in hurry. वो चप्पल तो पीछे रह गई, कोई बात नहीं, बाद में आ जाएगी. We are not training our people. I was seeing the chain which has been told that, and there is one as a healthcare professional. Okay, you showed a wonderful chain. Healthcare professional is not a one part. There are multiple parts within this. We have a doctor, we have a nurses, we have our technicians, laboratory technicians, we have a ward boys, and we have a now MTS, multitasking people. Ward boys is difficult to get, no permanent people. So we are hiring as a, and there is no provision for their training. And how much training will be required? This makes the life a bit difficult. Proper training, biomedical department of every institution is mandatory. I wish NMC make it important and mandatory to have a biomedical engineering department in every institution so that we can run. I have come across several things. Anesthesia department unable to use ventilators because every design of the ventilator is different. And the company provides 2-3 days in-house training, I believe. Yes, it is so, because I have purchased few recently. Is that important? And the company says that they are ready to give the training n number of times whenever you call will be there for a training. Staff who gets trained, they get shifted to some hospital, again the machine remains unused. Most of the medical devices, I'm saying it with my hospital and other hospital experience. They are condemned before they are really dead because a new model is there in the market with additional advantages. And everybody wants a new car with additional advantages. Then this is an untimely device of the medical device also, even though if it is safe. It's a challenge. At Lady Hardinge Medical College, I'm really facing challenge, but it's wonderful to work. People are very cooperative. They listen us. Earlier, they never used to listen us. It took some time. Now they cooperate. They send the reports, not material vigilance, I tell you, because the perception is different. We recently organized nursing training from 18th to 25th. Today is the last day. On 19th, we had a workshop and we told them that these are the medical devices and we have to inform the things. It's a continuous CNE, continue nursing education, which we teach them about the newer things and the thrush areas where they need to focus. Every nurse has an experience of adverse event with medical devices. Every nurse, every doctor has. Gloves पहनते फट गया, प्रॉब्लम है. अब डिपेंड करता है कि ग्लव्स पहनने वाला कितना जोर से खींचा, परंतु फटते हैं. Needles leaking, so many things are happening. Another thing which I observed in a COVID ने हमें बहुत सारा कुछ सिखा दिया. अब एक सबके घरों में आ गया ऑक्सीजनेटर होता है सर, नहीं पल्स ऑक्सीमीटर होता है, वो तो ठीक है. एक और होता है जिसको, हाँ जी, ऑक्सीजन कंसंट्रेटर. मैंने सोचा आप बताओगे हाउस होल्ड चीज़ है ऑक्सीजन कंसंट्रेटर, इसलिए मैं आप लोगों से पूछ रहा था. उस पर लिखा हुआ था 5 लीटर्स और डीलर बोलेगा देगा 3 लीटर. ठीक है. हमने गुरुद्वारे में जब एक सेंटर बनाया तो 400 हमने खरीदे. तो आई वॉज इन्वॉल्व इन दैट एंड आई आस्क्ड कि भाई ये कितना देगा. कहता भाई लिखा तो 5 है, देगा इतना, 10 वाला 7 देगा, 8 देगा, परंतु 10 का 10 नहीं देगा. व्हाट डज इट मीन? भाई पैसे तो 10 के ही ले रहा है, कम थोड़ी ले रहा है. ओवरनाइट फिर हमें एक वाई शेप कैनुला मैन्युफैक्चर कराना पड़ा रात में, क्योंकि सुबह मॉर्निंग में इनॉग्रेट करना था, शुरू करना था. इनॉग्रेट नहीं, शुरू करना था. 2 को लगा करके फिर पेशेंट के लिए एक प्रोविजन बनाया गया. तो हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस? आप लिख दो 3.5 लीटर, ठीक है ना. सो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ दिस स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम द राइट फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट ऑफ द चेन टिल द लास्ट ऑफ द चेन. And same we did in our hospital, in a Lady Hardinge Medical College, that we were asking patients to bring this from the home and then we were connecting the 2 to the 1. This whole set of lot needs to be reported. Who will take the responsibility for this? Perception is very important. Perception is this, that we need not to inform. होता ही है, ये तो चलता है. This perception needs to be changed. The thing which you feel is adverse event of the medical device, another feel it is not. चलता है. जो आप डॉक्टर हैं यहाँ पर, आई एम वेरी श्योर कि आपने निडल में से पानी लीक होते जरूर देखा है. नॉर्मल फ्लूइड, नॉर्मल सलाइन लीकेज देखा है. बट हाउ मच will be acceptable? I want to ask the industry later. that how much is acceptable if there is a problem, how much error you agree with it. So these are the things which we need to work, we need to change the perception, we need to change the knowledge. And when we say the knowledge, that brings the attitude. Attitude without the knowledge is very bad. So we are at the initial step as concerned with the medical devices in our hospital. We are developing certain things that which type of knowledge, which type of workshop will be beneficial. WhatsApp कोई नहीं देखता. हमने अभी WhatsApp ग्रुप बनाया है कि 30 नर्सेज का बनाया, कलावती सरन चिल्ड्रन हॉस्पिटल में 30 का बनाया हमने. We made them ambassador of their wards. कि आप लोग जो है बताइए बस एक मैसेज डाल दीजिए and we'll be there. We cannot expect them to fill the form. Form भरने में देर लगती है. We did that also. I'll share that information with you. So we have 2 hospitals, 1100 beds, 2000 healthcare workers, and super specialty. And I have a data that how many devices we are using. Of a different category wise we have devices, and I'll share sometime those information with you, and which type of devices gives the more problems, so that we focus on those things more. जो ज़्यादा problem दे रहा है उसके ऊपर ज़्यादा तवज्जो दी जाए in the initial phase. That we need to do. Our purpose is to catch the adverse event of the medical device. This word is catch. There are ADE everywhere in the air in a hospital if you go. Just you have to pick it and identify it, and identifying is very important. That is your perception. That you knowledge, that you identify, yes, this is adverse drug, and not the drug, adverse reaction to the device which we need to do. Earlier we were doing on a hard copy, and then we used to send the scan copy. It takes 7 to 8 minutes लगते थे हमारे previous form में भरने में. ये हमें लगते हैं अगर डॉक्टर भरेगा तो 15 भी लगा लेगा, because we are trained. And every day we are training. This is a form. Then subsequently editable form came. It was easier. थोड़ी सी life अच्छी हो गई. 2021 onward we did that, and then we are mailing it to Shratanjay, and he's responding very quickly, and it's taking 15 to 20 minutes for us. So this is a big time, and with practice I think ये time थोड़ा कम हो जाएगा, होना भी चाहिए. And industry should be happy today that we are developing manpower for you. Whatever we are doing, tomorrow they will be in your expert panels, I am saying you. Important to identify. Purpose is not only to earn the profit. Purpose is to earn the profit on a service which you are giving, the best service you are giving. We give service tax because we get the service which we like. When we don't like the service, we never like to give the service tax. So these are the things which these are the forms, these are the reports which we have sent. And COVID really impacted the material vigilance, badly impacted. We were using ventilators, but we were not seeing the functioning of the ventilators. We were using many things, but we were not reporting. Many things were not used at all. And the thrush was on a PPE kits and all that. And we had no standards to confirm that this PPE kit is okay. There was a shortage, and we were getting the donations, and we were not sure whether those donations are right or not. We were expecting that on-site, or even if you want to give a donation, you should buy the things from a standard shops or the standard vendors, so that maybe the ISO mark which Dr. Ravi was saying. So these are the month-wise which we reported, and I'll share you what we are trying to do. So you can, sir, ज़्यादा time तो नहीं ले लिया मैंने. मैं 2 मिनट में फिनिश करता हूँ. आप लोग अपने उसमें क्रचेस में हमने बड़ी प्रॉब्लम फेस की. क्रचेस बड़ी हैं, बच्चा छोटा है, क्रचेस बड़ी हैं. तो ये भी एक बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है. दिस डजंट इम्प्रूव द क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ. हमने डिपार्टमेंट वाइज चीज़ें निकाली हैं एंड वी हैव मेड अ लिस्ट के इस डिपार्टमेंट में ये प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, ये थ्रश एरियाज हैं, एंड आर रेजिडेंट्स आर फोकस्ड ऑन दैट कि यहाँ जाके ये तो ज़रूर पूछना है. लाइक हीटिंग पैड की हीटिंग ज़्यादा हो गई, कम हो गई, वो मशीन से हीटिंग पैड फिजिकल रिहेबिलिटेशन में लगाया पीएमआर डिपार्टमेंट में, वो कंट्रोल ही नहीं हुआ. सो दीज आर द थिंग्स विच यू नीड टू सी. हमने ऐसी लिस्ट बनाई है डिपार्टमेंट वाइज और इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करने की ज़रूरत है. रिकॉर्ड्स ऑफ द कंप्लेंट्स, एज यू सेड दैट यू गेट द कंप्लेंट्स. एट माई इंस्टीट्यूशन हम स्टोर में ये पता करते हैं कि कितने इक्विपमेंट की रिपोर्ट्स के लिए रिक्वेजिशन आया, हमें बता दो एप्लीकेशन कि वो ख़राब क्यों हुआ, क्या हुआ, फिर उसकी सेटिस्फैक्ट्री रिपोर्ट क्या हुई, तो हम देखते हैं. स्टोर को बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो रही है हमसे. हमने उन्हें बोला भैया कोई ऑडिट नहीं कर रहे हैं, कोई बीच में नहीं करना है, हमें सिर्फ बता दो कि कौन से डिपार्टमेंट का इको ख़राब हुआ या क्या चीज़ें ख़राब हुई और वो कितने दिन में ठीक हुआ, उसका पार्ट चेंज हुआ या फिर रूटीन सर्विस थी. So these are the things, thrush area, we are seeing the records of the complaint and the repair, AMC of ज़्यादातर हम कैटेगरी C और D में ज़्यादा फोकस कर रहे हैं, तो बाकी चीज़ों में हमने नहीं किया. और मास्क में तो बहुत ही वैरायटी ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स वी फेस्ड. ट्रेनिंग ऑफ द हेल्थ केयर वर्कर, नर्सेज. सो जो अभी डिफरेंस है परसेप्शन का, recognizing and determining the adverse event is different. That's why underreporting is there, and this is a picture in which I'm there along with my 5 senior residents were there, but 4 you can see them in a picture. This is an induction training program, and really they're enjoying it. So this is a small thing I had to say. I'll be happy if there is any query, then I'll be happy to share.
Thanks a lot, Professor Rehan. This was wonderful. And what I could gather from the whole presentation, and interesting storytelling which Professor always does, that's the best part in his presentation. He simplifies the complex subject also. But what one point, if I can take from his presentation, is, which is most important for me and I think should be for all of us, is to actually challenge the status quo. We should not accept what we just see knowingly that yes, it is not right, but we just leave chalta hai. And unless until we stop there, look at it and challenge, try to find out the reason and report at the appropriate place, improvements will not happen. The companies also should know that what is the consumer, what kind of problems they are facing, and then only that can be corrected. And most of the issues in our country is because of this attitude that we do not actually go back and we do not challenge the status quo, and we don't see the improvements. So I think in medical device domain also, this is more important because it is related to the healthcare. It is a complex field, lot of engineering, lot of material science, lot of clinical science, everything is basically brought into one small device which ultimately the patient uses. So if we need to have improvements there, it is our duty to do this become part of material vigilance, and it is not only for the professionals. One strategy which IPC is currently working on is how do we bring normal public into the vigilance system, both in pharmacovigilance as well as material vigilance. And this will not grow to the level it should unless until the consumer starts reporting. And that is why the role of each one of us as consumer becomes very important. We may be professionals, but we have to also make others aware who may not be professionals. We stay in societies one day a month or maybe once a year also. If we collect everybody and just talk to them about all this, make them aware that it is their responsibility also to give the feedback on the medicines they are taking, the devices they are using. the world will be so much better. So with this, again thanking you, Dr. Professor Rehan, and the last presentation for today, Shatrunjay Shukla, Dr. Shatrunjay Shukla. He is my colleague at Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, and he would be actually taking and talking about the way we the infrastructure, the reporting systems, how we collect data, what are the different models of collecting data, how do we analyze, what do we do after that. So basically the infrastructure around the material vigilance program. Over to you, Shatrunjay.
Thank you, sir, for your words. First of all, I would like to thank DOPT and FICCI members and our director, Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, and my reporting officer, Dr. V. Kali Selvan, for providing this opportunity to me so that I can speak in front of you. This is the last session of today's MVPI workshop, and by the end of this presentation, you will get to know what are the reporting tools available under the Material Vigilance Program of India, and how to use them, where to submit them, and what happens when you people submit such reports to IPC. So as of now, we have 4 reporting tools available under the ambit of MBPI. The first one is a medical device adverse event reporting form. This is a 4-page online fillable reporting form that is most widely used by the industry people, by the healthcare professional, as well as by the consumer. The second one is the field safety corrective action reporting form. This is basically for the manufacturers or the license holders so that they can communicate any field safety notice or any recall to the public or to the regulators. The third one is the mobile app. This is a freely available on the Google Play Store. You can use it, you can download it and communicate to us using this mobile app. In addition, we also have a toll-free number, that is 1800-180-3024. This helpline number is open from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5:30. But sooner we are planning to extend it 24/7. In addition of it, during the pandemic, we have also developed a 1-page online fillable reporting form specifically for the personal protective equipments. If you encounter any adverse events linked with the personal protective equipments, you can use this form. It is a very simple and a 1-page form. By using this, you can report adverse events associated with the personal protective equipments. So now coming back on the first one and the foremost tools, at present we are using, that is medical device adverse event reporting form. As I said, it is a 4-page tool that is divided into the 9 sections. So I hope that you all have a copy of this reporting form in your registration kit. So the first section is the general information. The general information comprises the date of report. Date of report is the date on which you are reporting adverse event to the IPC. And the type of report, there are 4 types of report, like initial, follow-up, final, and the trend. Initial is the first communication between the reporter and the IPC. It may be complete or it may be incomplete, because sometimes the reporter reports within the time frame, and once the reporter complete all the analysis, then they submit in a additional or in a supplementary form. Follow-up is the type of report where you provide the supplementary or additional information to us. Final is a complete. While the trend is trend reporting is when there is significant increase over the threshold value of your particular product, then you can take it as a trend monitoring. The second section is the reporter details, in which we seek information about the type of reporter, whether the manufacturer is reporting or importer is reporting, distributor, healthcare professional, patient, or any other who is aware of the adverse event, and the reporter contact details, so that in case if we require further information about the adverse event, then we can contact him. The third section is the device category. While reporting, you have to opt whether you are reporting adverse event for medical device or for in vitro diagnostics or for any equipments or machines. The fourth section is the device detail. This section constitutes the device trade name or brand name and the details regarding who is the manufacturer of that device, who is the importer of that device, and the distributor. Whether the device in question is notified in India or not. If notified, what is the classification of that device, what is the license number, catalog number, model number, lot number, software version, or any kind of associated device. What are the nomenclature like GMDN or UMDN? These are the nomenclature. If applicable to your device, you can opt it. UDI is unique device identifier. You can fill it if applicable to your device. And the other details like installation date, expiry date, last preventive and maintenance date of your device, calibration date, year of manufacturing, and how long was the device was in use, availability of device for the evaluation. And the last one is if your device is not regulated in India, then you have to fill the regulator or the regulatory status in the country of origin where the device is regulated. The fifth section and the most important one is the event description. You have to report what is the date of event, actual date of event, location of event, and who was the device operator at the time of adverse event, device current location, and serious and non-serious criteria. You have to opt for it, whether the adverse event caused by the medical device is serious one or it is a non-serious one. Next, there is a detailed description of event. You can narrate in your terms what was actually happened. And the sixth one is the patient information, history and outcome. One thing I will clear here, that we don't require patient name and personal details. What we require is the gender of the patient, and age and body weight, and the present status, whether the patient is recovered after the incident or not. The next one is seventh is the healthcare facility information. You have to fill the healthcare facility details where the adverse event has happened. Now the eighth one is the causality assessment. This is the relatedness between the adverse event and the medical device. It is actually it will take time for you to fill this causality because as of now in India there is no scale for the establishing causality between the devices and the adverse event, but there are a scale is there in the European guidelines, so you can use it. And the last one is the manufacturer or authorized representative action, investigation and action taken. So this section is for the manufacturer or license holder only, so they can fill it. They can fill a corrective and preventive action taken once they are aware of the adverse event of associated with their device or the device history preview. So now I will present a case study to you, and I will I will fill it in front of you. So the case study is like a 49-year-old male patient presented to the hospital with the symptom of pain in the left leg and the inflammation due to a road traffic accident on June 21, 2020. The patient was shifted to the emergency department. The X-ray investigation clears that the left femur bone got fractured and the doctor advised to implant a orthopedic plate to the patient. The device was implanted successfully and with the consent of the patient on the same day. After 3 months and 13 days, that is October 4th of 2020, the patient presented to the hospital's orthopedic department and he reported severe pain and the post-discharge from the implant site. The X-ray scan revealed the breakage of device and the doctor advised him to explant the broken implant from the patient. On the same day, the patient underwent a revision surgery and the doctor implanted a new orthopedic implant of the another brand. The patient shifted to the general ward and later he was found to be stable. Now the broken implant was returned to the manufacturer on October 7th of 2020 and according to the manufacturer, it's investigative action taken. He said that there is no indication of a product quality issue with respect to the manufacturing, design or any kind of labeling. Therefore, no corrective or preventive action is required. The device details I'm showing you in the right hand side on the upper hand. The brand name is Orthrive, manufacturer is XYZ, importer is XYZ and distributor is there. Patient initial is there, KJ. Hospital gives him a ID, patient ID is there. Age, weight and existing medical conditions are there. So now, yes, the first section is a general information. The date of report. The date of report is the date on which the reporter is reporting the adverse event to the IPC. So now we can fill it 25th of April 2022. Type of report. The reporter opted it for final because he thinks that he is furnishing all the details to the IPC. The third section is reporter reference, but this section is for our monitoring centers only, so you can skip it out. Now the reporter details. Type of reporter, manufacturer, importer, distributor, healthcare professional, patient or others. If others, then you can specify it. So here the reporter is manufacturer. The second one is in case where the reporter is not manufacturer. So fill the following details like he has whether he has reported or informed the incident to the manufacturer, yes or no, or is the reporter also submitting the report on behalf of the manufacturer, yes or no. So in our case, we can skip it because this is a case that is reported by the manufacturer. Now the contact information, you can fill it, add name, address, email and telephone number. Now the device category. Device category in this case is the medical device because it is a notified medical device. It is a therapeutic one, implantable, whether it is invasive or non-invasive, so we can choose it invasive. It is a single-use device, reusable device or reuse of manufacturer, a marketed single-use device. So it is single-use device, it is a sterile and it is for personal use. Now the device details. Manufacturer, importer and distributor details are filled by the manufacturer. Now, whether the device is notified, yes, the device is notified. And what is the classification as per MDR 2017? So it is a highest risk imposing class, that is class D. So you can fill it out. License number, catalog number, model number, lot, batch number. It is filled by the manufacturer. Software version is not applicable. Associated devices, that's all. A orthopedic screw. Nomenclature code, not applicable. UDI number is there. Installation date is not applicable. Expiry date is a March 2028 as claimed by the manufacturer. Calibration date is not applicable. Year of manufacturing is there. How long was the device was in use? As I stated earlier, that 3 months, 13 days is the exact period where the device was implanted inside the patient. Availability of device for evaluation. Manufacturer claimed that device is not available for the evaluation. Is the use of device as per the manufacturer claim, instruction for use or user manual? Yes, he stated yes. And 19 is not applicable in our case. Now, the next section is the event description. Yes, the date of event is the date of surgery, that is 4th of October 2020. No. Okay. The date of implant is the 21st of June 2020. Location is home. Why home? Because the device breakage was actually happened in the home or when the patient was not in the hospital, so we have chosen home. Device operator is a patient itself. Device disposition, they have said that it is returned to the company. If yes, then you can mention the date. Is device in use after incident? No, device was explanted from the patient. Now you have to opt for the seriousness criteria. This criteria is designed as per MDR 27. So you can opt whether the death, life-threatening, disability, or any kind of permanent damage, hospitalization or prolongation of existing hospitalization, any kind of congenital anomaly or birth defect, or any other serious or important medical incident. So you can opt whatever you think is a fit. So here we have opt for prolongation of existing hospitalization. It is a serious event, and whether other medical device were used at the same time. So we have mentioned orthopedic screws were there. Now this section is a free section, means you can write it down up to 500 words. So manufacturer reported like he has written the complete history, means how this event has happened. This is a section only for the manufacturer or the authorized representative, so they can mention the frequency of similar adverse event inside the India or outside the India within a span of 3 years. Now the next section covers the patient information, like patient initials, what is his age, gender, and the weight, any existing medical condition with the patient, or the last one is the patient outcome, means whether he is recovered or not yet recovered or any others, then you can specify it. Healthcare facility information, like the reporter has filled XYZ hospital is there where the surgery was done. Address is there. Contact person, means contact person is the doctor who is performing that surgery, means explanting that device, and its contact details. Now the causality assessment. Reporter has said that the broken implant was explanted and returned to the manufacturer on October 7, 2020. And the root cause of problem, based on the available information, the level of causality will be probably related to the implant. Now the manufacturer device risk analysis report, he stated that according to the manufacturer review, there is no indication of a product quality issue with respect to the manufacturing, design, or any kind of labeling issues was not there. So no corrective action is required. Device history review, batch reports were reviewed, and it was found that all the batches of the device in question have met the specification at the time of release. So no issue with the device. So this is that how you can fill or how you can use this reporting form. Once you complete the reporting form, you can send this reporting form to shatrunjay.ipc@gov.in or mvpi-ipc@gov.in. You can also send your report via speed post or via courier to IPC, Sector 23, Rajnagar, Ghaziabad 201002, or to the your nearest medical device adverse event monitoring center or ADR monitoring center. The detailed list of monitoring centers under IPC is available on the IPC website, so you can find it out there. Now what happens when you submit reports to IPC? You see, IPC receives report through email or speed post, through the toll-free number, through our mobile app, or sometimes the consumer reports in a hard copy through the speed post or any courier. So once we receives the MDAE, the first thing what we do is we check whether the report is complete in all sense or not. If the report is complete, it goes to the next level, and if the report is incomplete in any sense or any kind of information is missing, then the report is reverted to the reporter for the additional or supplementary details. Once the primary level is done, then at secondary level, what we check is whether the subject expert opinion is required or not. If subject expert opinion is required, then it goes for the next level. Otherwise, it is stored in the MVPI database. When it is put forward for the subject experts, so during any kind of, when the report goes to the next level, we collect minimum we collect suggestion or recommendation from 2 independent subject experts based on the device in question. Once the subject expert opinion is received, we compile all the reports along with subject expert comment and put forward to the MVPI partners meeting. MVPI partners constitute IPC itself and the NHSRC, that is National Health System Resource Center, and the SCTIMST, Trivandrum, and the CDSO, that is the National Regulatory Authority in our case. After that meeting, if any kind of regulatory action required, then the findings are communicated to the CDSO, or any kind of surveillance is required, then the report or the advisory is forwarded to the monitoring centers. We have developed a questionnaire, basically knowledge, attitude, and practice-based questionnaire is there, so that we can assess the present readiness of the healthcare professional in our country regarding the medical devices safety surveillance. So I request, using this platform, I request all the audience to go through this link. This link is available on the IPC website. Otherwise, my team members will circulate this link to you people. So you can fill it and submit it to the IPC. Thank you. That's all.
Thanks, Shatrunjay, for this detailed, taking the audience through the detailed method of reporting. I'm sure everybody would have at least learned on this reporting system. So with this, we finish all the 5 presentations of this session. Next, maybe 10 minutes we can spend on question answer if you have any questions. So can you, do we have mics?
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. It was really a very good session, and all parts were covered, so very well designed also, and I'm sure we have a good number of students also attending, so they would be benefited. And I'm mentioning students, so you might have understood. I'm an academician, myself Dr. Aarti Thakkar. I'm associate professor in Amity University, Noida, and I'm teaching regulatory students. So I have 2-3 questions, but just I'll take right now one. So the question is for Dr. Ravi. How, because we are observing a lot of things nowadays related to AI-based medical devices and all. And past year, as we all were work from home academicians, so we could develop 2 devices which are basically, you can say, artificial intelligence and machine learning based. So my question is how much, because I was just going through some of the guidance document by Europe and US FDA also, but that is also in a draft form. And as we know that if we talk about AI-based devices, they're like, based on the trained models and all. So how CDS here is looking on this kind of devices regulations in India? Because definitely I think within few years we would be coming into that zone that we would be having this based devices a lot. And also there are many challenges pertaining to clinical trial of these devices, because when you go for, we are not asking like consent form from the patient, because we are keeping a lot of data open of the patient in clinical trial setup. So these are the two questions. Over to you.
Thank you, madam. What is your good name?
Dr. Aarti Thakkar.
Okay, Madam Thakkar, you have asked a very, very good question.
Thank you.
Because artificial intelligence is in an advanced stage right now. Most of the countries, they are not regulating that. And I like to apprise the audience that this is the branch of computer science which is based on the algorithm. They can collect the data and they can manipulate, okay, what is this disease? And it is for faster, this diagnosis, reduce the cost burden also. In India, the regulation, rightly we are going to regulate this Class A and Class B medical devices from 1st of October 2020. And this software, based medical devices will definitely be under regulation. We will make out the guidelines. But right now, there is no provision for that. So you can go ahead and for the clinical investigation under the, you can take consent and approval from the ethics committee, and you can go ahead to establish the, effectiveness of this particular artificial intelligence tool. Thank you.
I'm S.K. Das, current Institute Professor of IIT Madras, former Director of IIT Ropar. Now the thing is, the last presentation, I am interested in from the patient's perspective. Firstly, at the end it was said, even the customer can report, customer cannot. Because the form that you have shown, I cannot fill up. I don't have those data. How can a customer have that data? Only the hospital can. And then the most interesting thing which happened, the device is given back to the manufacturer. And that is not available anymore. So any kind of investigation, what happened is now ruled out because that device is not available. And the thing is, which manufacturer will say for design or materials, my device failed? Nobody will say. No one in the world. But today, in engineering, being a technologist, I know if that device would have been tested by material scientists, the cause of failure could have been pointed out. You don't need to go to any hi-fi place. Give it to IIT Delhi Material Science Department, they will do it. They will tell whether it is a material imperfection or the process or the loading which created the problem. So instead of that, with all this paraphernalia, finally, if the closure is that the manufacturer says that nothing is wrong, now the manufacturer has to say how it failed. It's not only saying that, sufficient to say that, well, no design failure, no material failure, then why can it fail? Science says there must be a reason to fail. So then what is the point of carrying out all these if we don't have a system by which we can pinpoint what went wrong? Because you look at the customer side, I mean, all these processes might have happened. He is not concerned. He lost time, money, everything. So what is the outcome?
Yeah, so your point is very valid. Satyendra, you have, because my assumption, I don't know the whole case, the way it was prepared, but my assumption is the details, all the details have not been presented. And I agree totally with you that your challenge is correct. I would have done the same thing what you are saying, but I am sure there are other parts to it. Everything has not been disclosed. Shatrunjay.
Hello. Sir, as I have stated in my first slide, that in addition to this reporting form, there is a toll-free helpline number. So anyone who is aware of or who is the victim of that adverse events, you can use the toll-free helpline number. You can reach us, so we can go into the further details. In addition, you also have a mobile app, so by using that app you can submit minimum information. You see, when you are reporting through the toll-free helpline number, what we require is the minimum details. So whatever the patient is, whether whether he is illiterate even, so that he can report to us.
On the reporting side, the form which was explained, it was given all the details that people who know they can fill. But having said that, the system also allows that even if you just write your name and what has happened to you and send it with the contact details, IPC will go back, depute associate who will take all the detail from you, whatever can be taken. So that's the way it works.
I'll supplement, sir. What actually he has presented many things. Like there are certain portions are only mandatory for the ADR monitoring centers or manufacturers. Say for example, causality assessment. That is not mandatory for the consumer. That is only a portion or responsibility for the ADR monitoring centers or medical device adverse event monitoring center. Consumer doesn't require to do the causality. Simply he can give the event. He can submit the minimum information, minimum identity. That will be sufficient for us.
But the other important question he had was on why did it go back to the manufacturer? The moment you give it to manufacturer, it is dead end. So what is the response to that?
Sir, because he is the one who will submit, the investigative action taken or any kind of device issue if there. So he is the one who will submit it.
So
Asking the accused to carry out the investigation.
So Professor Das, what you're saying has a sense. We will have to maybe go back and see. Because for me, if you ask before sending it to the manufacturer, there has to be investigation at the end of the either hospital or through a committee who is knowledgeable in that. And then, because I agree with you that if you give the faulty device to then it goes to the hand of manufacturer, where there is a scope of shielding the issue. I fully agree with you. This is the area which we need to relook.
So actually, it is getting biased because of the type of device that is in context, right? Because there can be a microfracture, and as Professor said, it is very easy for a third person to assess. But there are pretty complex devices as well, oxygenator, and they are biomedical hazards. When we take, we really have to, ensure that it is through appropriate channel, appropriate method. And most of the devices cannot be assessed. Particular example is very simple. But yes, there are a lot of details, and sir, I'll be happy to share. And in fact, I represent a company where there were, instances of 20 years back, company voluntarily withdrew. We are a 100-year-old company. And FDA said that, no, you can continue the product, but we said no. We found there is something wrong, let us go back and find it out. And took us 30 years to get the product back to market, but yes, companies are.
See, but we, what you're saying, Amit, is right. So, but there is a scope of shielding. That's what probably Professor wants. There is a scope which we need to see how do we address it. But if I see the analogy on the other side, in the pharmacovigilance side, we don't give it back to the manufacturer. Everything, because that is also probably what Amit said. It could be a question of expertise, because in the pharmacovigilance, there is a drug in question. We have lots of expertise. Others can actually, we don't need to go to the manufacturer about the drug. Others can analyze and do the causality. In case of devices, there are a lot of them which are very complex, which people who are not actually in the manufacturing or knows the product, it will be difficult for them to understand. So certainly an area which need to be looked into.
Hello. Hello, sir. I'm Dr. Amal Kumar, medical device officer. I would like to add on this, what there is some confusion about this reporting system. Reporting is a one part. If there is a confusion of the sampling, if the institution doesn't want to return back to the manufacturer, there is a provision and the rule they can call to the MDTO, that is the medical device testing officers are there. So they can take a sample of those devices and they can review at the certified notified lab by the government. So testing can be happen there. Presently in India we don't have so much government lab developed as a MDTL, but we are in the process of developing the MDTL. But MDTO are the notified and some of the certified labs are also identified, but for a specific category of the devices. So this is the ongoing process is that. But if there is a confusion, they can call and contact to the Drug Control Administration and sampling can be done from the institution also. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So this field is actually opening up, but it actually just started, if I can say. So a lot more improvement is required, but I think we are on the right path.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Vivek Borsai from Naipur, Hyderabad. So basically I have two questions. One is for if the device for Dr. Ravikant. So if it is notified and non-notified are the two categories, what are the implications? Like if there is the adverse event due to non-notified device, then what are the regulators' role in that? And yes, probably first.
राइट सो डॉक्टर साहब ने जो सवाल पूछा था प्रोफेसर साहब ने, मैं उसको थोड़ा एक्सटेंड करता हूँ. इन मेडिकल डिवाइस फ्रेटर्निटी, whenever there is a problem, because medical device is made up of polymer, ceramic or alloy, the biocompatibility study has already been carried out by the manufacturer, so there is no problem for biocompatibility. But if there is any breakage, if there is any design problem, the practice is followed that this particular impugned or substandard quality medical devices has to be given to the manufacturer to assess the CAPA. And the similar batch, they are not allowed to sold in the market. Simultaneously, the regulator can draw the sample and they can send the samples to IITs, or we have registered 21 laboratories for the testing purpose. If you recall that there was a example of ASR, hip replacement, and that was established that there was a design failure. And though it is not in the laws, but regulators fought for the consumers. And more than 200 patients have got 25 lakhs each, the compensation for that. So regulators are fighting for that. And this is the practice, this is the exploring area, and definitely your suggestion is well taken. The second point to this gentleman from Naipur. Now we have published two notifications from February 2020. All the medical devices are under regulation. But there are two parts. One is under licensing and one is under registration part. But if there is a problem with the non-notified medical device, then we can take action. Their registration will be cancelled, suspended, and we have, because we came across that there was in case of ventilator, there was some disintegration of polymer. It can cause the lungs and all these things. We issued the field safety alert. We called the company, asked the explanation, and we can suspend their registration certificate. So nevertheless, all the medical devices are under regulation, but partly means one is under licensing and other one is the registration regime.
Thank you, sir. And second question is for Dr. Rajiv. As for drugs, we have pharmacopoeia. For medical devices, merely like class A, B, C, D are the classification. So is there any chance, is there any scope in future that if we can have a monograph for the medical devices? Is there any possibility?
So today, as we talk, the current IP has 16 monographs on medical devices, but all of them are, I think, category A, right? Category, or maybe some of them maybe B. But we have actually divided the responsibilities between BIS and us. IP is responsible only for medicated devices, where there is a drug device combination.
Right.
Whereas the only device, I think it falls in the purview of BIS. We are not developing monographs for that. But wherever, since the drug device combination is treated as a drug, it becomes our responsibility. So we will be developing monographs for that.
Just let me supplement to Dr. Saab. See, for the medical devices, you know the combinational medical devices like cardiac stent, like the bone cement, where the antibiotics are used. In cardiac stent and paclitaxel, everolimus, they are coated as a immunosuppressant. So IPC is expert for this, making this monograph for the drugs related issues. If I talk the pre-filled syringes of the insulin, whether it is a drug or device, it is a drug. Ophthalmic solution of hyaluronic acid, if it is used for arthritis or ophthalmic use, then it is a drug. But if it is used for the, to remove your wrinkles, because there is no therapeutic action, no metabological, no chemical action is there, then it is a medical device. So Bureau of Indian Standards, they are formulating the standards, and they have established and prepared more than 1400 standards for medical devices, and combinational medical devices IPC is in the process to make out.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
My name is Naval, sir, and I primarily come from the in vitro diagnostic background. What is the implication of some of the in vitro rapid testing devices in terms of adverse event reporting?
So we have started to get the adverse events, which mainly is the false negative, false positive results in vitro diagnostic cases. We are getting the reports of these kinds, and that is becoming part of our database, and we are doing the causality assessment on those. Anything else if you want to add?
So that is what, sir. I want to supplement that. Yes, we have started getting such reports of in vitro diagnostics. And second, next one is our initiative is we are also going to work with the approved CDSU approved laboratories for in vitro diagnostic approved labs of CDSU to participate in this program. So that is also initiated, and we are also approaching NABL also. Such labs may be a part of this program. We are planning to recognize them as a center.
So so thanks a lot for these kind of questions, and this is more a reason for all of us to actually start reporting and making people aware, because we all are professionals. We are actually from the field of medical device, and then we have so many questions to be answered. Think of normal public. So it becomes our responsibility to actually increase the awareness and be part of that whole initiative which we are carrying today. Yeah, Amit, you were asking something.
So you are asking about what is manufacturing?
Yes.
Repacking, relabeling is a manufacturing activity. For example, if you want to import the bulk sheet of IVDs and you are cutting down here, you are adding some stop solution, some reagents, that is a manufacturing activity. If it is not ready to use, if you are importing ready to use or you are manufacturing, then it is okay. But if you are relabeling, then it is also a manufacturing activity.
Anything else?
Good morning, good afternoon, sir. This question is for the panel, and first of all, I would like to thank all the eminent speakers for these wonderful presentations. My name is Rajat Goswami, and I am from Pharmaceutical Management. I am a Pharmaceutical Management student from Jamia Hamdard University. My question is, can we talk or have some insights about the reusability of the medical devices for other patients? Reusability in cases...
Reusability.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry if it's not related to the regulation and other, but...
But why did this question came in your mind?
I saw a YouTube video regarding reusability from a startup perspective. That guy, he instated.
So I understood. Let me answer your question in the interest of time. See, this domain is so big. If you see the oximeter, it is a reusable equipment. So, and there are stents which cannot be reused, right? So you have to be specific. What is your specific questions?
Reusability in for the devices that are planted inside the body, such as for the screws.
So very interesting. You want to answer?
See, for implantable and invasive devices, manufacturer categorically writes only for single use.
Yes, sir.
If it is used multiple times, that is the fault of the manufacturer, hospital, or the user. The problem with the medical devices is not only with the quality, it may be due to the handling also. Like cardiac catheter, balloon catheter, if somebody is using multiple times, then it is wrong. Because manufacturer writes that is for single use. So matter ends. And government never allows for reusing of these things.
So you have to understand one thing. These any whether it is drug development or device development, if the recommendation is for single use, that means the product has been developed for single use. All the testings right from beginning to the end has been done keeping in mind that this product is for single use.
Okay, sir.
So if somebody wants to use the same product for multiple use, it is just not possible because it is not developed for that. Okay. Right? If you want to do a multiple use device, then you will have to right from beginning, you will have to actually do your all protocols for a multiple use device.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So thanks a lot. I would first thank the audience for an engaging session and inciting questions. Certainly, it won't end without thanking the speakers. They took out time from their busy schedule for this presentation and answering all the questions. We will keep on doing these kind of interactive sessions because this is important for material vigilance. As we said that it's beginning and we have to go to far and grow it to the next level and ultimately for the benefit of the patients. Nikita, you want to say something?
I would like to thank all the participants. Thank you everyone for being a patient listener in entire session. Thank you all of you. Thank you all the eminent speakers with us. Thank you everyone. Thank you director sir. Thank you. Thank you sir. Sir आपकी presentation.